Few chances at some scattered showers throughout the day. Not looking at an all day sort of washout, but clouds will remain dominant. Highs today mostly climbing into the mid to upper 60s. Tonight, a few more chances at some showers as clouds again remaining dominant, dipping to the mid 50s. More chances at some showers tomorrow. A little bit of clouds and sun returns on Sunday, with a chance at some storms going into the afternoon and highs in the mid to upper 70s. I'm Skywarn 13 meteorologist Mike Dandria.
How many of you listening right now are gearing up to be summer weekend warriors? Maybe getting ready for those golf leagues coming up or all those softball and volleyball tournaments. But what about that pain that you have been experiencing and you've been holding off and getting it checked out? Well, sounds like you need to make that appointment with Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Just visit cvosm.com now to schedule your appointment and start living that pain-free, better life today and dominate those weekends this summer.
Want to stop engine problems before they start? Pick up a can of Seafoam Motor Treatment. Seafoam helps engines start easier, run smoother, and last longer. Just pour it in your fuel tank. Seafoam is available where automotive products are sold.
Welcome to the Dan Kasper Show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's the show that features serious, thought-provoking sports talk and insightful sports commentary.
You knew it.
In other words, it's the show where they all talk a crap load about sports.
Let's go for it.
Now let's introduce your host, a man who lives and breathes and has a passion for sports. A man who breaks everything down in the sports world and gives you everything you need to know. Plus a bunch of stuff you probably don't need, but you'll still enjoy it.
You can't handle the truth.
Here is your host, Dan Kasper.
Prime time. Prime time.
What up, everybody? Good morning. Happy Friday, TGIF. Dan Kasper Show on the air on your radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available worldwide online at sportstalk1051.com or the video stream that is up and rolling on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Got the Sports Talk app, your Google and Alexa home devices. Appreciate you making us a part of your starts on this May 5th, Cinco de Mayo morning here, right before we wrap up for the week and head into another weekend here. What do we got on the good old game plan here for this morning? We're going to talk a little Brewers. Brewers, yikes, getting swept by the Colorado Rockies yesterday. Brewers had the lead heading into the 7th, 4-0. Brewers putting up 2 early runs in the first to give them an early lead, adding some insurance runs, or what we thought maybe were going to be some insurance runs in the 5th and 6th. But 7th inning, bottom of the 7th, Colorado putting up 4 to tie it, and then they followed that up by putting up 5 in the bottom of the 8th to take the lead, and didn't look back. So Brewers getting swept by the Rockies yesterday. Thankfully, the rest of the division has also been stinking it up right now for the NL Central because, well, Brewers still remain 1.5 back from Pittsburgh in first place in the standings, and then the Cubbies, still 3 back from the Brewers right now. They're in third place, so at least the NL Central has been not playing well as of late either here after rough stretch. Not a great start to the month of May here for the Brewers. Dropping 3. Actually, I mean, if you go to, April 30th and losing that one, last one against the Angels, and then dropping these 3 to open up the month of May. Brewers will be in San Francisco tonight and through the weekend, taking on the Giants before returning home to face the Dodgers beginning on Monday. So we'll recap this game. You look at, Wade Miley. He was pitching pretty darn well, but up until that in that seventh there, giving up 3 earned runs, did get the no decision in this game, but yikes, everything kind of collapsing there for the Brewers. So hopefully Brew Crew can bounce back and take a series win against the Giants. As Wade Miley said after the game, let's get out of Denver. Let's get out of Denver. And I think the Brewers are ready to get out of Denver here too. So, but we'll throw some baseball chat in here, obviously, with Brandon coming up. Mr. Brandon Berg starting just past 7 after we chat with Dr. Crow inside the trading room, Triple Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. We'll catch up with him. It's been a little bit, so we'll catch up with him. We'll do what else we got coming up here Friday. Well, cream of the crop, obvious. Cream of the crop. We'll do some Carpet City Flooring Center local sports spotlights. We'll catch up on some of the local stuff with Mr. Berg. What's going on in the area? Baseball, softball, track and field, all that good stuff. But we will be leading off here this morning, talking some big news surrounding the Milwaukee Bucks yesterday afternoon. It was announced that the Bucks have relieved head coach Mike Budenholzer from his duties, firing head coach Mike Budenholzer. Looking at the numbers over, it seems like it's only been 5 years, man, oh man. In his 5 seasons with the Bucks, Budenholzer won 271 games, has a win percentage of a 693 winning percentage. He won NBA Coach of the Year in his first season with the Bucks, and we know that helped guide the Bucks to a championship in 2020-2021. Now, I know maybe I shouldn't just assume, but I feel like majority of the listeners will probably agree with the decision to let go of Budenholzer. Again, I don't want to speak out of turn or just assume or anything like that, but that would be my guess. If you're looking at his playoff career, winning a playoff career, it looks like he's got 104 wins. Or wait, excuse me, 56 wins. It was 104 total playoff games. 56 wins, 48 losses. That includes his time with Atlanta. If we just look at Milwaukee, he is 39 and 26 playoff record with a 600 winning percentage in the postseason. I mean, those are pretty, let's face it, those are pretty solid numbers. So, do you agree with the decision? Again, I think the majority of listeners are probably going to agree with the decision. And if you do, I would like to know, who do you think the Bucks should target? Our good buddy Jim Ozarski, who covers the Milwaukee Bucks for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, has a list of potential candidates out there. Now, that doesn't mean that's the same exact list that the Bucks are going to be using. I will be interested to see how much the new co-owner, the Haslams, have any say in the new head coach, which, again, I don't want to assume, but maybe that makes Bucks fans a little bit more nervous, knowing that the Haslams are going to be involved in finding a new head coach. If you're looking at, coaches who are available that have won a championship as of late, and in fact, if we do a little what if the Celtics had won the NBA Finals last year and, coach still gets fired because of his off the court stuff that was going on, there's a really good chance the last 4 head coaches who have won an NBA championship could have been fired. Because you've got Frank Vogel from the Lakers, fired. Nick Nurse, fired. Warriors beat the Celtics last year, but then the Celtics head coach, was suspended and let go. Now Mike Budenholzer. So, of the available ones out there, you've got Nick Nurse, Toronto. That seems like a popular pick amongst Bucks fans that they would like to see kind of brought in here. He also oversaw a 5-year run that began with an NBA championship in 2018, 2019. He was the 2019-2020 Coach of the Year. Raptors went 53-19 before losing in the second round of the postseason. Toronto went 227 and 163. That's a 58.2% winning percentage under Nurse. They missed the playoffs in 2 of the past 3 seasons, though. So, I mean, yes, championship, and I feel like a lot of people are high on the Nick Nurse bandwagon here. But also, there's the other part of that too, where, yeah, you won a championship. How much of that was the Kawhi Leonard effect? I mean, you need great players to win a championship. I don't want to take anything away from anybody or any coaches or any players or anything like that. Frank Vogel, if you're looking for coaches who have gotten like a championship background. In-house candidates, Charles Lee. Darvin Ham was a longtime assistant, but he's with the Lakers right now. Charles Lee. He's been rumored to be a candidate for Toronto and Detroit right now. So we'll go through the rest of this list here and see if any names kind of jump out to you. But for those of you who maybe are big-time Hoops fans and know some possible candidates out there that could replace Coach Bud, who would you throw out there? Start hitting me up with some texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, all right? 715-830-1912. Basketball coaches, I feel like, are just such a I don't know. Like, I don't know if there's actually like a middle ground when it comes to like basketball. Like, you've got your tops of all time. Like, I mean, you've got your Phil Jacksons, your Pat Rileys. I'm talking like some older school ones. Obviously Greg Popovich is still around. Steve Kerr's probably in that category. Then maybe there's a few in the middle, like a Doc Rivers or something like that. And then it's almost, I feel like, kind of like NHL in a sense. Sometimes when it comes to letting go these coaches. And it's also different for, because like in the NFL, a lot of us already know who the offensive coordinators or defensive coordinators are that are like hot candidates to be a head coach. Basketball is a little different. We don't know a whole lot about the assistants. We know a little bit about some of them here and there. But NFL, a little bit different because we really expose those offensive coordinators, or we really highlight those defensive coordinators and such. So their name is already out there, right? They're already out there. Baseball, maybe not as much either. But if you got anybody that you'd like to throw out there as a possible connection or candidate, I should say, for the Bucks, who would that be? And I want to ask this too, to you Bucks fans. Does it make you nervous that the Haslams, the new ownership, part new ownership, would be involved in the head coaching search? Does that make you nervous at all? So let me know. Hit me up with those text tweets at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. So we're going to hit that up coming up here in just a few minutes. But your reaction, your thoughts on the firing of Coach Bud. I kind of put it out there on Twitter yesterday. There was a small part of me that they actually did it. That they actually, there was a part of me thinking that, I know, again, maybe it's just a loud majority, but there was a big chunk of, I thought, Bucks fans, maybe a little bit of the majority that wanted him out. And there was some talk about it. And I'm like, will they actually do it? So there was a small part of me that they actually surprised that they actually did it. So were you surprised? And again, I'm not asking, do you agree with the decision or not? Well, I kind of am, but was a small part of you actually surprised that they actually did it yesterday? So let's hit that up. Okay. Take our first break here. And then coming up on the leadoff, Talk a little Milwaukee Bucks. Who are some potential candidates to replace Coach Bud? We'll break it down and get your thoughts coming up after these few words.
Got a take on today's topic but can't call in? Then hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, or the text line and let your fingers do the talking.
Our good friend Joe from Cabin Coffee is joining us again here this morning. So I know last week we talked about one of your flavors of the month because you have two of them at Cabin Coffee, the lemon meringue. And then now we've got caramel apple.
Caramel apple pie frappe.
Look at that.
That's kind of a pie month for me.
I like it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, it doesn't come with coffee. So people who are caffeine sensitive or don't like the taste of coffee, you can order it without coffee. I like to put a little white coffee in there, kind of our specialty, and takes it to a whole nother level.
Right, and that's kind of what I was talking with Bob the other day on the program too, because he mentioned he's like, I probably count on my hand how many times I had coffee and I had not a big coffee. And I'm like, well, that's okay because that's what Cabin Coffee, whether it's their smoothies or like the caramel apple pie or the lemon meringue one, you can get it without coffee as well. Like you just mentioned, caffeine sensitive. You don't have to just because it's a coffee shop. You've got more options than just coffee.
And we actually offer almost all of our drinks as caffeine free because we do decaf espresso, we do decaf coffees too. So. And I know that it's becoming more and more prevalent that people do have a caffeine sensitivity. I know several people that work for me and my employees that are caffeine sensitive, but they still find a way to at least enjoy some of our products while they work.
Right. So I saw you guys posted this on Facebook the other day, but it's perfect timing because, well, it is May and hopefully the weather is going to be warmer consistently now. But, the colder drinks kind of coming in. I got to ask, are you the blended? Are you the iced, or do you have a preference when it gets to a little warmer temperatures out there? Or?
I guess my taste would be the blended. My belt line would tell me not to because, again, trying to watch my my figure and not be such a large human being. And so I still tend to go to the iced. Plus, it's faster for me. I'm usually flying around that place, and I don't have a lot of time. So iced for me takes a lot less time to make than the blended, but as far as my sweet tooth, blended for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I got to imagine now with the warmer temps, it's probably increasing with your blended orders with a lot of them.
Very much so.
Yeah, whether it's the coffee or the fantastic smoothies over there too. So, and then you've got cinnamon roll over here too. It's huge. It's actually funny because the other day, a friend of mine was actually at we'll just say a fast food place, and wanted a cinnamon roll and they didn't have any. Now I can tell him where else he can go and get a cinnamon roll over there. It's not a small one either, which fits everything on your menu.
Yeah, we have great cinnamon rolls. People come to us for cinnamon rolls, and again, if I'm going to indulge at a cinnamon roll, it better be big and worth my time. So, ours definitely fit that bill.
Right. We're talking size. You might need a fork
absolutely
to dive into that.
And several napkins because you'll be wearing it.
That's the best kind to do it though, too, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I can imagine my 5-year-old just diving into this because he loves his cinnamon rolls too. So and plus I want to remind people too, because Mother's Day is coming up. I don't know about you, but I know my wife loves coffee and, whether or smoothies or bakery stuff. I mean, gift cards available at Cabin Coffee maybe to help out mom this year.
Gift cards. We just got a whole bunch of new cups and mugs in and some new apparel too. So it's a one-stop shop for mom. Definitely with a gift card and cups and mugs and shirts and sweatshirts.
Heck, even maybe take her out for lunch or grab something to eat over there. Maybe surprise mom with a trip over to Cabin Coffee.
Absolutely.
Do it up. That's I know what I'm. Hopefully she's not listening, but that's kind of what I was gonna stop over and get my wife for Mother's Day with some stuff there too. So
I believe me and my wife are both working on Mother's Day, so we'll be at the coffee shop helping out because we got some of our employees are going to be celebrating at home with mom, so we can give them that opportunity, and me and my wife will just slide in. And
so that means your daughter has to work with you to spend time with mom, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right,
which is great.
Gotta throw that. Yep. I like it. Well, Joe, it was great catching up with you again, bud, and we'll see you on Mother's Day too.
Sounds good, man. Take care.
He's smart, informed, entertaining, and he knows his sports. In other words, he's the kind of guy I'd like to settle down with in a small, cozy cabin in the woods. That is, if he was a woman with a case of cold ones. The Dan Kasper Show, weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
Speaking of Cabin Coffee and Joe there, don't forget, we're taking some nominations for what we should call Joe's go-to drink. We've got a lot of Badger-themed ones since Joe used to play for the Wisconsin Badgers, offensive lineman in the Barry Alvarez era, late 90s and such. So, but if you want to give us your suggestions for a name, we're going to be narrowing it down next week. Got a good group right now, but text those babies on over. 715-830-1912, or you can shoot me an email and such over there too. But we lead things off again talking a little Bucks. Your surprise level, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, or do you agree with the decision with the Bucks firing head coach Mike Budenholzer yesterday? We're gonna go through Jim Ozarski's our good buddy from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. And he's got the latest piece out there with some potential. That doesn't mean these are the candidates, but some potential candidates that maybe the Bucks will go after. But we went through some of the numbers here. You know, Budenholzer in his 5 years as the head man for the Bucks. Regular season, he had a 693 winning percentage, a 600 winning percentage when it comes to the postseason. I mean, let's face it, those are solid numbers. You kind of wonder, you know, the fact that it was a first-round exit, if that was probably the one that really pushed the envelope to let him go. If the Bucks beat the Heat, I mean, they would be playing still right now, and I have to imagine maybe that's, you know, Budenholzer would still have a job, even if they would lose the second round. I know there was a lot of speculation, even during the championship year with that postseason, that could Bud be fired that year, but then that run to the championship, it was what kind of saved his job and such. There's a lot of speculation, you know, in that postseason run that you know, maybe Budenholzer was going to be on the outs then. So now 5 years later, you know, 5 years as the head man, he's out. Who could be some potential candidates? We went through, you know, Nick Nurse and Frank Vogel. We mentioned Charles Lee. Some other ones that have been floated out there as possibilities is Kenny Atkinson, former head coach. He's also a former Mike Budenholzer assistant in Atlanta, but Kenny Atkinson coached the Nets from 2016 to 2020. He posted a record of 118 and 190 with just one playoff appearance in 2018-2019. Next one, his name I feel like is attached to almost every single opening right now. He's a veteran, longtime veteran, Mike D'Antoni. He's got a 672, 527 regular season record, 56%. But my thing with Mike D'Antoni would be is it almost feels like he is kind of similar to a little bit of Bud. Like if you feel like the reason Bud should have been fired or let go is because of playoff runs or lack of, you know, maybe deep playoff runs, or you think they should have a couple of championships at this point. Mike D'Antoni is, to me, a coach that great regular season coach didn't have any success when it comes to the postseason. Never led a team to the NBA Finals. You know, he's guided the Suns and the Rockets a couple times to the Western Conference Finals, but he never got over that hump to even get to a final. So I'm not on the Mike D'Antoni bandwagon right now. Mark Jackson's name is being floated out there. Mark Jackson, he's a analyst right now. One-time coach of the Golden State Warriors. I know some people are still kind of like scratching their head, puzzled a little bit that maybe he was the kind of the underappreciated player or coach person involved in kind of resurrecting the Golden State Warriors and being a big part of who they are right now. I mean, he was fired back in 2004, almost 9 years ago already, and that was after he posted a 51-win season. The Warriors won a championship the next year. Some other candidates, Becky Hammon. Remember, Becky Hammon interviewed for the job before Coach Bud was hired. She was a longtime assistant for Greg Popovich in San Antonio. She is with the Las Vegas Aces, WNBA, won the title, the 2022 WNBA title. I mean, she's interviewed for. She also interviewed for the general manager position for the Bucks too. Remember, the year before she interviewed for the head coaching position. She has reportedly interviewed for open NBA head coaching positions in Charlotte, Portland, and Toronto under her resume too. So she's one out there. You've got. I'm looking at Jim's article here. Jared Collins. He's a former player. He's Steve Kerr's under. He's an assistant for Steve Kerr. On that bench, you've got Kevin Young. According to Jim here, the Bucks consider now Phoenix head coach Monty Williams in 2018. And while it appears Williams is solid in the Valley of the Sun, his lead assistant is getting some interest. Young has been in Phoenix since 2020-21 and was promoted to associate head coach this season. So there you got Jay Larranaga, who is a Clippers assistant under Ty Lue the past couple of years. I've seen also you got Sam Cassell was thrown out there as a possibility too. But I mean, if you kind of Google articles or blogs or whatever your sources or your reading materials at, you're seeing a lot of the same names all over the place. And again, I don't want to put words in Bucks fans' mouths or anything like that, but I feel like if we asked or we put out a poll question out there, who would be your number one choice? And I feel like the majority would go with Nick Nurse. And my question, just to play a little devil's advocate, would be, what do you think Nick Nurse could provide or do that Coach Bud couldn't do or didn't do? Because if you're looking at, their records, win percentage wise, Nick Nurse has a lower win percentage than Coach Bud. Nick Nurse, 582. Coach Bud's 693. We're just looking at Coach Bud's Bucks record. Although, I mean, it's not like if we included Atlanta on there too, it wouldn't be that much different. I mean, he had success being the head coach with the Hawks too. But you look at Nick Nurse, 58-24 in that 2018-2019 season. The NBA champions, Kawhi Leonard was there. He followed that up, 53-19, the following year. Second round exit in the postseason. And then after that, 27-45, 2020, 2021, 48-34, and then this past season, 41-41. So you've got 227 wins, 163 losses. Playoff percentage, slightly better when he did make the postseason. Now, he made the postseason 3 out of the 5 years here. But 25-16 with a 610 winning percentage compared to Budenholzer, who had a 600. But again, 3 seasons compared to 5 seasons in the postseason there. So, I feel like a lot of people would probably pick Nick Nurse as their number one candidate out there. Would you want to retread? Do you want a up and coming, maybe first time type of head coach? Do you want maybe an older school guy to come back that maybe hasn't coached in a while? Maybe, like a Mark Jackson or something like that. Who would be your ideal candidate? And I think the factor in this whole thing too is how much do you involve Giannis in the decision to bring in your new head coach. I think you have to involve Giannis. Don't you remember when it was when they were looking for their new head coach in 2018? It was Giannis and Middleton. Was it the story they were having breakfast with Coach Bud to kind of like meet and greet, get to know each other sort of thing. So, I mean, I feel like Giannis is you're going to want to probably get his opinion and his input on the whole thing, because you want to make Giannis happy, right? You want to get his seal of approval, don't you? You want to make sure you get a coach that Giannis is good with. And I don't know if who Giannis would say or mention or anything like that out there, but I would think John Horst and the Bucks would involve Giannis in the process and in the decision making here. But one of the questions I threw out there at the beginning is how nervous does it make you a little bit that the new owners, the new co-owners, the Haslams are involved in this decision? A lot of Bucks fans are nervous with the fact that the Haslams are now part owners of this franchise, and now they're going to be part of the decision process to bring in a new head coach. So, come on now, it's makes me a little bit nervous. I'll be honest with you, makes me a little bit nervous. I'm just reading a little bit more here from Jim's great breakdown on the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Coach Bud was also hired when Edens was the team's governor in 2018. The Haslam Sports Group, led by Jimmy and Dee Haslam, is now a co-owner. The new hire will be the third head coach under the ownership group headed by Wes Edens, who bought the team with Mark Lasry in 2014. Their first coach was Jason Kidd, for whom they traded 2 second-round picks to Brooklyn that season. And there's a part of it, too, that you kind of wonder, and I'm taking this from Jake here because I think this is an interesting point. I feel like there has to be more to it than is being said. If it's based off of production, it's BS. But I feel like there's more to it. Like during player exit interviews, maybe they gave an opinion that he didn't adjust or listen during the series. The Jay Crowder situation could have been part of it as well. Spend 2 draft picks and not even play the guy at all. Kind of odd. And I was kind of wondering too with, I don't know if they completely made a decision just based off Jay Crowder and what Jay Crowder had to say after the postseason, where, he made the remarks about, I don't know what my role is here. But I'm sure, Horst, the general manager, John Horst, how many second round picks did he send? Was it 2, 3, or whatever the heck it was to bring in Jay Crowder? And it's pretty much a non-factor at the end of it, in the postseason. So, I mean, I feel like, now I don't know any inside, but I would feel like John Horst would have liked to maybe have seen Jay Crowder be more of a contributor, maybe get some more opportunities to contribute, since he brought him in as a trade deadline deal and had been trying to acquire him since the beginning of the season. So maybe there were some disagreements between Bud and Horst at that point. But it is interesting to kind of note, like, was maybe something popped up in, like, the player exits. Was there some chatter after the series? Because no doubt, I mean, that was a very disappointing first round exit. And then, if the other factor in this thing too is, okay, if Giannis was healthy, does it change the series? Which I think it does. And does that also change the future or the fortune of Mike Budenholzer? Bucks win that series, they're still playing right now. Bud's not fired. Now, I don't know if it would have been something, maybe he would have been let go if they lose in the second round or something like that, but this is just a what-if situation. So, your thoughts? Do you agree with the move? Do you not agree with the move? Are you indifferent on it? We'll open up some of the text coming up here in just a little bit. I guess I'm kind of in a wait-and-see approach now. Like, I want to see who they bring in to replace him. Do they need a big-name hire? Do they need a Yeah, I don't even know who that big name hire would be, to be honest with you. Like, they ain't gonna bring Steve Kerr in. I would doubt that. I mean, Steve's a Cal guy, so they ain't gonna bring him over. It's not like, Lakers and Phil Jackson. They're not gonna bring him in, or there isn't that type of coach out there. Like, who would be a big name hire? Is there somebody on the college circuit that you'd be good with? I guess promotion might not be the right word, but crossing over here. Jay Wright isn't going to be it. I think Jay Wright's just done, and he's good by being a TV guy. I know Jay Wright was, when he was with Villanova, was always kind of talked about, possibility. Could he make that jump into the NBA? I mean, I think the 76ers would have loved if they could have got him at a certain point, but he ain't going to be. I would be shocked if he was somebody in that conversation. Trying to think who else could be out there as just off the top of my head as a college coach right now. That would be somebody that can make the jump, like Billy Donovan did with Florida, and making the jump first to OKC, and then now he's with the Bulls. But it's not, he's good at St. John's right now. I don't know off the top of my head, like the Juwan Howard assistant with the NBA, but then he goes to college, so I guess that's a little bit of the opposite. Would Juwan Howard take the Bucks job over Michigan? That would be something. Holy moly. Like, Juwan Howard was, before he took the Michigan job, he was getting interviews all across the NBA because he was a longtime assistant in the NBA. But talk about a Wisconsin storyline. Juwan Howard if he got the Bucks job, with the whole Badger thing there, I don't see that happening, but I guess never say never at this point. So I don't know who that, off the top of my head, I don't know who that realistic big name type of hire would be out there. I don't know who that would be off the top of my head. And when I say realistic, it's not Steve Kerr. It's not Popovich, if you still want to throw him into that. It's not Eric Spoelstra. It's not going to be that. I don't know. I have to think about that a little bit more. But if you got a name, you can send those nominations over with. Okay. Tell you what, we'll take a quick break here. We're going to catch up with our good friends from Hy-Vee. Then I'll open up the text line, check out the text line, see if you've got any names out there. But let me know, do you agree with the firing? Why do you agree with the firing? I want to know why. If you were one that was banging a table for the Bucks to let go of Coach Bud, why? Give me your reasons why. Why do you think he deserved to be let go? And if you don't think he deserved to be let go, tell me why too. Maybe for you, simply, it's like, look at the numbers: a 693 winning percentage in the regular season, a 600 winning percentage in the postseason. Maybe for those of you who thought he should be fired, it was the high expectations. Just one championship in the last, 5 years is inexcusable. Or maybe it was just based purely off the postseason run from this year, or the short postseason run that they had. And give me some names if you've got some names that you want to throw out there, okay? All right, let's take that quick break, and then I'll check out the texting line and some other comments and such. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
The Dan Kasper Show will be right back.
Becoming a regular now here on the program. Maddie from Hy-Vee. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. It's fun to come here, so I like it.
Well, I like hearing that, so that's good. It's good stuff. A lot of stuff happening. I know just the other night you had the graduation taste test.
Yeah, it was a fun time. Free
Yep.
samples all over. It was a fun, great
Kind of
time.
weird to think graduation's already coming up here.
I know. It's maybe it's the weather, just because it's so weird.
Yeah.
Bouncing back and forth. It doesn't seem like we're there yet. But.
Exactly. So it's also making me, because I'm approaching almost 20 years when I graduate high school now.
I'm hitting my 10-year this year. So
it's weird.
It is.
It's like your 10-year anniversary, and then it's like 20-year anniversary.
I know. I was like, I got
You have to check out Ribfest from Hy-Vee. If you haven't tried them out yet, Phil is an amazing chef, cooker of the grill, master of the grill over there. So going to have to check that out later on today or tomorrow for Ribfest over at Hy-Vee. Good friends from Hy-Vee. Catching up on some of the texts here. I got a couple of votes on the texting line for Becky Hammond. A couple of you mentioned too, like you like the fact that Becky Hammond's from the Popovich tree. Well, remember, Mike Budenholzer is also from the Popovich tree. In fact, he was an assistant with the Spurs from 96 all the way to 2012, 2013. So, you got another member of that Popovich tree with Budenholzer too. So don't forget about that if that's kind of your main thing there. Obviously, we've got no big surprise here. A few people picking Nick Nurse here. We do have a couple people questioning why people would want the Nick Nurse selection. As one texter, this is from Jim, saying, I don't quite understand the love affair for Nick Nurse to Milwaukee. When you look at his numbers, they don't compare to Budenholzer, besides each of them having an NBA championship. If somebody could tell me why they really, really want Nick Nurse, I'm all ears and open to being convinced. All right. So I'll throw that. That's from Jim on our texting line there. So for those of you who want Nick Nurse and want Nick Nurse badly, why? Give us your reasons why. Jim wants to know. So we're opening it up. Jim wants to know. Jim wants to hear from you. Okay? Text us back, 715-830-1912. G-Man with an interesting name. Shaka Smart. P.S. Bucks. Go get Shaka Smart from Marquette to coach the Bucks. How about that one? G-Man also saying the Brewers will win the series against the Giants. Bucks will find the right coach to continue to win games in the NBA title. Shaka Smart. Probably on that pedestal right now for Wisconsin basketball coaches. So keep your picks coming. But right now, I would say the majority is Nick Nurse, which is no surprising to me if I'm just basing it off the texting lines. We got a couple of Becky Hammonds. We did get a Mark Jackson pick in there. This was from Kevin, who said that I'm one of those that quite haven't understood why Mark Jackson hasn't gotten another shot to be a head coach. I like the fact that he is a former player. I think bringing in a former player might be a good thing for this Bucks team and Giannis. Okay. That's the other part of it too, is like, do you want that head coach to maybe have the background of being a former player in the NBA? Does that matter to you or not? I don't know. We'll see. All right, we'll get to some more picks, some more nominations coming up a little bit later on. Switching over to the Brewers here. Brewers getting swept by the Colorado Rockies yesterday. It looked like the Brewers were on their way to winning that game, up 4-0 heading into the bottom of the seventh. And then just like that, tied up 4 apiece. But that didn't last long, because then in the eighth, bottom of the eighth, the Rockies putting up 5 and never looking back. Brewers did try to climb out of it. They were able to put up a couple of runs there in the top of the ninth, but what a collapse at the end there. Yesterday, Yelich did grab 3 hits, including a dinger. Rowdy Tellez hit another home run for the Crew. He had Tyrone Taylor also collecting a home run, so the Brewers 3 home runs, but still not enough with that collapsed bullpen. Well, Wade Miley though too, he looked like he was on his way to another great start, quality start, and he was for the longest time. But then getting into that seventh there, just wheels kind of came off. 3 earned runs, then bullpen just couldn't hold it down. A little bit of a collapse there. As Wade Miley said after the series, let's get out of Denver. Yeah, I think this Brewers team just wants to probably forget about this series. A lot of debate about the balk too. Did you see that? Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw what happened and such, but a lot of discussions whether it was the correct call. Kind of want to ask Brandon about this when we chat with him coming up in the next hour. But if you haven't seen it, kind of look it up because it was a big call in the game yesterday. So we'll maybe get into that a little bit deeper in depth. A little bit more in depth with Brandon coming up in the next hour and such. But looking ahead to this series against the Giants now, Brewers looking to bounce back. Thanks to the rest of the NL Central for stinking it up, because the Brewers still just 1.5 back from the Pirates at this point. So I mean, really, no ground was made either way with this whole thing because, well, the rest of the division hasn't been taking advantage of it right now. So Corbin Burns is going to be on the mound for the Brew Crew tonight, looking for his 4th win of the season, 3-1 so far on the year. And when you look at some of the experience, kind of looking at the matchups here and the Giants' offensive lineup that'll be out there against Corbin Burns, you've got a few guys with quite a bit of experience. You got Peterson from the Giants, Jock Peterson, 16 at bats, 313 against Corbin Burns. Wade is 11 at bats, just 182. And then you got a couple of Jonathan VR, 6 at bats, 167. So I mean, Jock obviously has the most experience when you factor in, played a little bit with the Cubs and such. And he's had some success. He's got a home run. You look at that average against Corbin Burns. Everybody else is kind of meh. Not a whole lot there. But I think when it comes to Corbin Burns, I think we're still maybe kind of waiting to see that consistently dominant Corbin Burns, right? The strikeout machine, the guy that's not walking a lot of dudes either. And Corbin's coming off of that appearance with the A's. He picked up that win, went 6 innings, giving up just 5 hits, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts, and in 1 walk. In the game prior against Boston on the 23rd, he got the no decision, pitched 5, gave up 2 earned runs, strikeout just 5. Against Seattle, 5 1/3, he struck out just 3. I think when you look at it with Corbin Burns in the first month of the season, I think the biggest question that people have with Corbin Burns so far is why is maybe the strikeouts down a little bit this year, because he was like the odds-on favorite, the popular pick to lead, the National League, even Major League and strikeouts, Cy Young contender. Yeah, he's 3-1, but when you kind of look at some of the numbers surrounding it, especially the strikeout numbers, they're not at that level that I think a lot of people probably expected from him. And I know it's only he's started 6 games so far this year, but when you kind of look at some of these numbers here, so like his opponent's batting average, opponents are hitting 225 against him, which isn't great, but you look at last year, opponents were hitting 197 against him. 2021, they were hitting 201. 2020, in that shortened season, they were hitting 174. So this is actually so far the second highest batting average against him throughout his career. The only one that was higher was that really weird 2019 season where it seemed like every guy was kind of tattooing off of him and hitting 330 against him. So 225 isn't horrible, but when you kind of put it in the perspective of other years under Corbin Burns, it's the second highest so far. So we got Corbin Burns on the mound for the Brew Crew tonight. Then coming up on Saturday here, let me bring it up here because I want to see if they finally made a decision on Sunday. So yeah, Saturday is Colin Ray. Sunday is still a TBD, and I know there's been some talk about could that be Adrian Hauser making his first appearance this year? Could he be getting that start on Sunday for the Brewers? and then get through this, return home, face the Dodgers. So a little bit of a NL West matchup here. Your picks, your predictions for this series. It's a prediction Friday, so you can send us your picks for this series coming up if you'd like as well. Interesting article on MLB, kind of a little bit of a fun one out there. But it's got the spiciest rivalries in Major League Baseball right now, division by division. What do you think they picked for the NL Central? It was Brewers-Cardinals. And they're right up now. If this is going to remain a rivalry, the Cardinals are probably going to have to get out of last place at some point. But assuming that happens, these two teams are going to tangle like they have essentially this entire century. The Cardinals' success has been well documented, but it's worth remembering how many headaches they've provided the Brewers from 2011, one of the best Brewers teams ever that ultimately fell to those streaking Cardinals in the NLCS, to last year when the Brewers vexed the Cardinals all season until the Josh Hader trade sent the team plummeting. One fun thing about this division rivalry, they've actually faced each other in the World Series before, 1982, which we know that with our history. So it's not Cardinals-Cubs, it's Cardinals-Brewers. Their pick for the spiciest rivalry in the National League. I don't think too many people would probably disagree with that at this point. Maybe some Cubs fans would still disagree with that, but each their own. All right, we are going to run out of time here for the first hour. Shot clock's going to cut us off, so we're going to kick off the next hour, catching up with Dr. Crow inside the training room. We'll talk to him a little bit about Brandon Woodruff and such, and some other stuff going on there. Then we'll catch up with Brandon. We'll get back to some more baseball talk. We'll get back to some more of your thoughts on the firing of Coach Bud. Give us your pick. If you could pick, who could be the realistic pick? Okay, somebody who's realistically available. But give us your pick on who you would hire for the head coach, to become the new head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll catch up on some local stuff, including cream of the crop in the Carpet City Flooring Center local sports spotlight. One in on this Friday, Cinco de Mayo. Got some news updates, and then we'll be back. Kicking it off with that Inside the Training Room with Dr. Crow.
WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. Sports Talk 105.1 with the very latest local news.
Good morning. Here's what we're learning today as we start in the courts, and we know it's a $100,000 bond for a man who allegedly made threats against a judge and a prosecutor in Chippewa County. Harley Alcala of Duluth was in court in Chippewa Falls yesterday for his first appearance on terroristic threat charges. The DA says Alcala threatened the court Tuesday morning, and he was arrested on his way home from Minnesota to the courthouse in Chippewa Falls. That was that hiccup on Highway 53. Well, in fact, authorities did have to call in the SWAT team and a negotiator to get him out of the car, as the judge in the case said he will notify the public if Alcala is able to post his bond. Looking to other headlines that stretch the state, the jury will get a case against a teenager accused of a violent rape of an elderly woman in Waukesha 2 years ago. Prosecutors called their final witnesses yesterday, and the teenager, Khalil Perry, opted not to testify. Perry is accused of kidnapping, robbing, and then assaulting an 88-year-old woman outside of the Waukesha Public Library in 2021. Yesterday, prosecutors played his interview with police where he admitted to kidnapping and robbing the woman, but denied sexually assaulting her. As we look to other headlines, it could be a reach across the aisle in Madison. The latest pitch for election reforms in our state has a buy-in from both Republicans and Democrats. Looking closer yesterday, there was a group of lawmakers that suggested new laws that would add security for our poll workers, require military ID numbers for all military ballots in the state, stop local election managers from closing more than half of their polls, and it would have the state cover costs of special elections. Supporters say the idea is to make Wisconsin's elections safer and more secure, though it's not clear how Governor Evers would feel if that landed on his desk. Well, getting local, it's big money for dwarf stars. UW Eau Claire gets a big grant to look at those, specifically $526,000 in the National Science Foundation grant to study white dwarf stars. Dr. William Wolf is an assistant professor of physics and astronomy at UW-Eau Claire and will lead a team this summer to do that research. And a lot of people have stars in their eyes if they're laying bets tomorrow for the Derby. No, Bob is a fan of watching the 149th running of the Kentucky Derby underway this weekend. Those betting favorites for this year's race are Forte, followed by Tapit Trice. But moving away from the hooves, let's look at those hats for just a minute.
When the Derby was new, a man or a woman wouldn't dream of attending such an event without a fancy hat. They became more of a whimsical statement when television cameras appeared, and now they're just plain fun. The average Derby-style hat will set you back at least $250. The most expensive hat at the Derby cost $3 million, but it had diamonds all over it. The old standard for men is a Panama fedora, and for women, from fascinators to full-on hats, make sure you bring out the color, the flowers, and feathers. Lots of feathers. I'm Bree Tennis, NBC News Radio.
You know, I have to say, I was kind of touched the other day. I overheard Casper talking about me in the hallway. So this is what he had to say.
And now they're just plain fun.
Thanks, buddy. For Sports Talk 105.1. I'm Morgan McCarthy.
Clouds have rolled in through the overnight and will give way to a few chances at some scattered showers throughout the day. Not looking at an all-day sort of washout, but clouds will remain dominant. Highs today mostly climbing into the mid to upper 60s. Tonight, a few more chances at some showers as clouds again remaining dominant, dipping to the mid 50s. More chances at some showers tomorrow. A little bit of clouds and sun returns on Sunday, with a chance at some storms going into the afternoon and highs in the mid to upper 70s. I'm Skywarn 13 meteorologist Mike D'Andrea.
Discussion over a new farm bill will be in our area this next week. Let's take a look at some farm news on Sports Talk 105.1 and AM 790. There will be a Farm Bill Roundtable meeting on Monday. That'll be over in Loyal. The event at Northside Elevator is being organized by 7th District Congressman Tom Tiffany, but 15 presenters will be there from all segments of agriculture, including farmers, agribusiness people, farm organization representatives, and others to discuss what needs to be in the 2023 Farm Bill to make it work for agriculture. That session, though, will not be open to the public. Wisconsin Farm Technology Days has a home for 2025. Show organizers announced earlier this week the show will be held at the Clinton Farm near Bear Creek in Outagamie County. It'll be the second time the Clinton family has hosted that show, the first time back in 1978 when the show was then called Wisconsin Farm Progress Days. Also back then, the farm was 320 acres with a milking herd of 300 cows. By showtime, the farm will have expanded to 1,000 cows and 2,300 acres with a 50-cow Waikato-style rotary milking parlor. The show dates are August 5th through the 7th in 2025. This year's show will be in Baraboo, July 18th through the 20th, with the 2024 farm show closer to home back in Chippewa County from August 13th through the 15th at the Country Fest.
All right, second hour on this Friday morning of May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Appreciate you tuning in, however, wherever you may be tuning in from. We're going to catch up with our good buddy, Mr. Brandon Berg, coming up here in just a little bit. We'll get back to some more Bucks chat and Brewers chat, too. It's Friday, though. It's time for a little Inside the Training Room with Dr. Austin Crow. How you doing, bud? Good to hear from you.
Fantastic.
Hey, I want to talk a little Brewers here with you. Now, I know we've talked about Brandon Woodruff and his injury a couple times now, but there was an article out on Brewers.com yesterday or a couple days ago where he was actually asking some other pitchers for some advice, and he's got that subscapular strain. And you know, the thing that he kept getting back from advice from other pitchers, he said, was just be patient. And he's probably at best not going to be ready for at least another month or so. So I guess my question, Austin, to you is, you know, this is a strain. Obviously, it's a subscapular strain. But is it the fact that he's a pitcher is why it's taking like many, many months, a few months here for him to get ready? Because, you know, maybe in another role, if he was just maybe a position player or something like that, he'd be back already. Is it just based purely on the fact that he's a pitcher is why this strain is taking a long time for it to heal?
Yeah, certainly. I'd say that's playing a huge role. So just to touch base real quick, what the injury is. So the subscapularis is actually one of the rotator cuff tendons.
Okay.
So the subscap is, you know, we use the term rotator cuff as if it's one thing. It's not. It's actually 4 separate muscles, and as they attach to the bone, we call them tendons. So the subscapularis is the one on the front of the shoulder. So that aids in basically internal rotation and adduction of the arm. So as you can imagine, bringing the arm in and across, that's basically almost a definition of a pitching motion. So it plays a huge role in throwing. So absolutely, someone who throws hard, which I think pitchers fall in that category, certainly going to be putting a lot more stress across it than some of the other players in the field. I will say this. I mean, a standard frame like this generally isn't going to last, or strain, I should say, it doesn't last that long. So, I mean, you got to wonder if he's re-aggravated it or if there's some other thing playing a role as well, where maybe there is a little bit of tendon involvement as opposed to, the standard injury to kind of the muscle tendon unit, which is kind of the standard strain that you see. So, it really is kind of a long duration. But that being said, I mean, you also don't want to go back where he's not 100%, where you re-aggravate it and all of a sudden you're dealing with this all season long. So just to kind of get over it. But yeah, it's taking its time, that's for sure.
Sticking with the Brewers, and one of their youngsters, outfielder Garrett Mitchell, underwent shoulder surgery to repair a labrum in his left shoulder. Now, to kind of refresh it, it happened in a game where he slid into third base, and that's where they're saying he injured it. But he actually went out and played the field, and he threw a ball and tried to throw somebody out, and that's when he was pulled. Do you think there's a possibility that he made it worse by throwing that ball? I mean, is it, or do you think it's possible that he completely, the only way I guess what I'm asking is, did he only injure it sliding in there and maybe didn't realize he injured it until he made that throw? Or is it a good possibility he could have made it worse by making that throw from the outfield?
Unlikely the throw made a huge difference. Yes. I mean, from what it sounds like, he had a subluxation or dislocation event. I mean, it's a bit semantics between the two, where either the joint slides out partially or all the way. Either way, when the ball starts to come out, it can damage a labrum, which is what happened, obviously, because you end up having a labral repair. And so, in all likelihood, what your point of him realizing it when he tried to throw is probably more a reality as opposed to him significantly worsening it. So, a lot of times people have like an event where they're like, ooh, I felt something, but maybe it's not as bad as I thought. And then all of a sudden they do something else that really kind of shines a light on how bad you actually injured it. So it's not uncommon to have athletes do that, where they ding themselves up, try to fight through it for a play or two, or maybe even a little bit longer, and then also have another event where it's like, okay, this is serious. I did something to myself. And then all of a sudden the story changes.
There was a story on ESPN. It was by Jeff Passan the other day, and they were talking about the increase in injuries to pitchers. And there's some talk out there is the pitch clock, a big reason why, because they're getting rushed to try to make these pitches and all that, and there's trying to be some correlation between the two. What would your thoughts be on the increase in injuries to pitchers? Could it be because they're getting rushed, or is it mostly where? And I'm not a doctor, obviously, but is it mostly because pitchers are throwing harder these days, and now you got these pitchers who are you've got the specialist pitchers, more relief pitchers. The starters aren't going longer because they're throwing harder more times than not. Do you think there possibly could be a correlation because of that pitch clock, involving an increase?
It's possible. I don't think it makes a ton of sense. I mean, if you're looking at like a fatigue type injury, possibly, or if there's somehow like maybe like a tendonitis where just they're somehow doing more throws, but that's not the case. It's not like you're speeding them up so they throw more. I mean, their pitch counts are going to be roughly the same. So I don't think like a pitcher throws lefty arm and it somehow recovers and then they can throw again. I mean, it's not like a stamina meter on a video game, right? I mean, that's not the way the game works. So I don't think there's going to be a correlation there. It could be wrong. I mean, it may be somehow giving them a couple seconds extra, but I mean, we're not talking like a minute between each pitch, although sometimes it used to seem like it was, but it isn't that. So I doubt there's a correlation there. I think your point is probably more valid, that just what athletes are doing now, and especially in pitching, what they're able to do I feel like when we were growing up, people were throwing 90s and mid 90s. And that was like an amazing fastball. I mean, there's so many guys hitting 3 digits. It's just unbelievable what people are doing to their bodies. And guess what? The human body hasn't changed over the last 20 years. What's happening is that we're just pushing it to the boundaries. And so when you do that and you push to that edge, unfortunately, sometimes the body pushes back and you get injuries to the shoulder and elbow. And that's just what we're seeing is much more likely the scenario.
He's Dr. Crow inside the training room, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. The draft was this past weekend, and I got to ask you about this running back that the Titans selected, Tyjae Spears. He doesn't have an ACL in one of his knees and has arthritis. All right. So and I was reading a little bit here at the NFL Combine. Test revealed a full thickness cartilage loss and no ACL in his knee. 2-part here. First off, what does it mean by full thickness cartilage loss? And when they say he doesn't have an ACL, is it possible that he's born without an ACL, or was that like surgically removed?
And obviously this is speculation. Generally, when we say no ACL, that means he had a tear, and it also implies that it's chronic. So once you tear your ACL, they're probably referring to the fact that he doesn't have a functional ACL, but a chronic tear over time, what ACL fibers were there will resorb. But truthfully, once it's torn, it doesn't matter if there's something there or not. There are people who are born congenitally without ACLs. It's pretty rare. There's a couple conditions that are with it, but generally there's other things that go along with it. So I doubt he was born without an ACL. So I suspect that he had an injury at some point, and that probably correlates with the other question about the cartilage loss. So when we discuss articular cartilage, what we're talking about is like the white shiny stuff on the ends of the bone. And so your knee has 3 separate compartments: the medial or inner, lateral or outer, and then we call it patellofemoral or the kneecap joint. So there's 3 separate areas, and we kind of refer to them separately when we're discussing a knee. And I don't know if they mentioned which compartment it was in, but that area, he has one side of the bone. So it's either the femur, the tibia, or the kneecap, whichever area we're talking about, that has lost an entire section of that cartilage. And that's basically the beginning of arthritis. And so I can tell you, the odds of that player having a significant career is just incredibly low, because that knee is going to become symptomatic. Now, can some people function without an ACL and play without an ACL? It's possible. I mean, one of the famous examples was Hines Ward played a majority, if not all, of his NFL career without an ACL in his knee. Some people just are able to tolerate that, which is an absolute anomaly. So a vast, vast majority of people without an ACL, they try run and cut and pivot. Their knee shifts in an unstable way and causes further damage, like meniscus or cartilage in this case. So I suspect that he had an injury, which either directly or subsequently caused the full thickness cartilage loss. So I mean, all hallmarks of a knee that's going to have a rough go if he tries to continue to compete. And frankly, even at some point, daily life becomes hard. So he's going to be looking at some kind of restoration procedure in the relatively near future. Hopefully he's able to have somewhat of a career, and I certainly hope he's able to exceed expectations, but that's certainly not a great prognosis.
Especially playing the running back position too. I got to imagine that's man.
Yep.
So this might be a dumb question, Austin, but with the cartilage thing, is there a procedure, or has there been tests on this? Like, can you guys create something that's like cartilage to put that cushion in there between bones? Is that possible? Is there any type of procedure like that?
I mean, that's like the holy grail of orthopedics, man. There's quite literally billions with a B spent on that. I mean, someday we're going to come up with good stuff. So, I mean, there's all sorts of procedures. In fact, I do them every week that we're trying to preserve or recreate. So, I mean, the most basic thing that we do for those kind of problems is called a chondroplasty, where we basically clean things up. So people talk about a knee cleanup. Well, we'll actually remove some unstable flaps, things like that. And that can help something like the sharp catching pain. But at the end of the day, you're not putting something back. So that's like the most basic. From there, we go to a procedure called microfracture, which you've heard of before, and athletes get that sometimes. That's where we go to an area that has full thickness cartilage loss, and we poke little holes in the bone. And the idea is that that bone bleeds, and you have a clot that develops. And so inside that clot are stem cells. And so when the athlete, or maybe a normal person, is moving the leg, the friction will rub against those stem cells, and the stem cells say, hey, we should become cartilage-like tissue. Unfortunately, it's not true cartilage. So we call it's basically a fibrocartilage or a cartilage-like tissue. So it's better than nothing, but it's not as good as regular cartilage. From there, we're getting into more advanced techniques. And so there's a couple different things that you can graft in cartilage. So we can take cadaver cartilage and glue it in. You can get some growth from that, and that works okay. But again, it's not exactly like normal cartilage. One of the better techniques, and one that we're doing more and more often, is where we're actually, you're a golfer. So, when you're looking at a green and they move the hole around, they take a core of dirt and grass to move the hole, right? We can do that with the knee, where we take a core of bone and cartilage and we plug it in. So those are called osteoarticular or osteochondral grafts. Now, you can either do it from your own knee or take it from a cadaver. You're, of course, very limited with your own knee because you can only take so much from your own knee, because if you start taking big holes, you're leaving big holes. So there's some certain spots we can steal. So you're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul. More often, we'll take it from a cadaver. But you can't just use any cadaver, so you have to get matched. So these people will basically, and I have multiple patients on this list right now. So we get approval, we get an MRI, we get a match for their knee. And then once we have a graft, we'll call the patient and say, hey, we have a graft. Are you ready to go? So it's not quite like a kidney transplant where you're like, have a pager and you have to come in immediately. But usually we'll have only a couple-week window for them to come in and do that. So those are all efforts to restore native cartilage, and some of those newer techniques are working well. But I hope someday we have a simple little shot or a gel we stick in there, but it hasn't happened yet. So now people are getting these big surgeries in effort to kind of restore things, but it's a work in progress for sure.
Interesting. So good stuff as always, Austin. Appreciate it, and love chatting with you every Friday, buddy. You enjoy the weekend, and we'll catch up with you again soon, sir.
Sounds good. Take care.
You got it. There you go. There's Dr. Crow inside the training room. We're going to take a quick break, and then we move from Dr. Crow to Brandon coming up in just a couple minutes. Approaching the bottom of the hour here on this Friday morning. We'll say good morning to our good buddy, Mr. Berg, Mr. Brandon Berg. We're going to catch up on some local stuff probably at just past the 8 o'clock hour. I know you're a busy man. It's been a busy time for you, so we'll do a quick update on all that and get the Carpet City local sports spotlight there. But I got to ask you first, your thoughts, your reaction on the Mike Budenholzer firing. Did it surprise you a little bit? What was it, the right move, you think? What's your analysis on the whole thing?
I was a little surprised, but I do think it's the right move.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that when you look at the big picture over, Budenholzer's tenure, yes, there's always going to be the 2021 title. Very grateful that he was able to bring that to, Milwaukee and to Wisconsin. But even going back to when he coached in Atlanta, there were just too many playoff meltdowns where you just kind of wonder what was going on. This year wasn't the first year. Remember that if he doesn't win that title in 2021, he might get fired because the year before, after the Bucks as a highly seeded team lost in the bubble to the Heat, that was, there was a few of those already. So, and that, 2021 kind of bought him some more time, but it seems like what we saw this year was a bit more of the rule as opposed to 2021. So I just think that, some change need to be made. Either you needed to change coaching or you need to make some significant changes to the roster, which we'll see what happens with the roster because
they got some tough decisions.
They got some tough decisions to make, and money is not exactly going to be plentiful for them to spend. So, but yeah, I think it was the right call. It's a tough business. I mean, it seemed that, the coaches that won titles in 2019, 2020, and 2021 are now all out of jobs.
And the one that was in the East that represented the Eastern Conference in the finals is out of a job.
Yes.
So or not with the Celtics, I should say.
Yeah. So it's
that's for off the court stuff.
Yeah.
But.
It's tough, but it was, I think, a move that the team needed to make.
So, I mean, it's different. Like I've been kind of saying, it's different in the NFL where we know so many offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. We know the assistants. NBA is different. Baseball is different. NHL, I mean, there's so many retreads, it feels like, in the NHL.
It seems like there's like the same 34 coaches and they just hop from team to team.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it seems like the majority of Bucks fans want a guy who was just fired too, Nick Nurse from Toronto. We had somebody text in saying that I would love to hear why people want Nick Nurse so much. When you kind of look at the, he went to the postseason 3 out of 5. He did win a championship. I know the glass half empty approach, or maybe the Debbie Downer approach, whatever, is like, well, Kawhi Leonard, but is the reason. We could say that with the Bucks and Giannis and Budenholzer at the same time too. But is there a name out there that has, are you on the Nick Nurse type of bandwagon, if that's the right way to say it? I mean, it is hard to like say, because it's not like, hey, go get Phil Jackson, like in the 90s or the early 2000s, it was like, hey, Lakers, go get Phil Jackson, bring him back. Or, you're not getting Eric Spoelstra to jump Miami to Milwaukee. Steve Kerr's not coming from Golden State to Milwaukee. Are you on that Nick Nurse train, or is there another name or names that's kind of jumping out to you?
I think you kind of explained it well, because I'll be the first to admit that when it comes to like kind of knowing assistant coaches and stuff like that in the NBA, I really don't. So it's not like the NFL where you can say, ooh, this offense, when the Vikings were looking for their coach and Kevin O'Connell was out there, I'm like, oh, I know. I mean, I know of him. Here, I really don't too much. The Nick Nurse thing, I do think that caller brings up an interesting point, because I think in some cases the reason Nick Nurse is out is going to be talked about out there is because it's somebody people know.
Right. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people might be in a similar boat to us, where maybe they don't know all these assistant coaches inside and out. You can say, oh no, why don't we go with this assistant from this team because of X, Y, and Z. And it's a good point that yes, won the title in 2019. I'm not even going to say, well, it's because of Kawhi Leonard, but the few years after that, haven't been great. And, obviously the Raptors are in a bit of a different spot right now in the few years after they won the title than the Bucks were.
Right.
They've kind of tore it down here. So, I guess that would be okay, but I don't know. I'm kind of curious about the kind of the unknown. Which
and
for
how
me,
much does the Haslams part play in it? Does that make you more nervous too?
I don't know. Like this is I did think about that after the fire. I'm like, well, this is kind of the first moment of okay, well, what's this going to be like?
Right.
And I don't know the interest level, but I think a name that came up back when Budenholzer got fired was Becky Hammond.
Yeah.
That I think could be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think
just won a title with the Las Vegas Aces,
yes,
WNBA.
The WNBA.
Yep.
So but has extensive coaching under Greg Popovich in San Antonio.
And the Bucks, I mean, not only interviewed her for the coaching job before Budenholzer the year prior, she was interviewed for the GM job in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So somebody there really holds her in high regards.
There's some people there that hold her in very high esteem, and you look at your
Mm-hmm.
resume and you can see why. So
Right.
she's one I would be interested in.
Mm-hmm. And that's another. I know a couple people said mentioned her because of the Popovich tree. Remember, Budenholzer was a longtime assistant.
So and I don't know if that would necessarily be kind of going back to the same well,
Mm-hmm.
but that is someone that I think would be interesting. But yeah, outside of that, I'm not really sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's because I know I would love Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen.
It's not gonna, any of the like you said, Steve Kerr, whoever, it's not gonna happen.
Right. Those
they're happy where they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So like Doc Rivers, I mean, it's Doc Rivers. I mean, is there much difference?
No, because Doc, they've kind of got similar. I mean, the difference is Budenholzer's won a title. Well, no,
Doc won it with Boston.
That's
1
right.
year.
My bad. Yeah, so that
was a long time ago.
But still, there's similar there. So, and the Bucks have had some assistants, not just in recent years, but this year that are out there.
Charles Lee's
out there. Obviously, Darvin Ham's on the coach of the Lakers. Like there's, that tree for them has kind of branched pretty well so far. But I guess if you're someone like Charles Lee, now suddenly are you like, well, hold on a second.
Mm-hmm.
If the Bucks are interested,
how much. This might be a dumb question, but how much should Giannis be involved in this decision?
I think you need to make sure you get his opinion. It's not going to be, you don't, whatever decision you make, you're not going to be like, well, this is up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because one, I don't think you put a player that's number two. I don't think Giannis wants to be in that spot.
Right.
I think he wants to be a voice in the room, and say, hey, here's who we're looking to bring in. What do you think? Kind of a thing, but not okay, Giannis, we've got Coach A and Coach B. Which one do you want?
Right. Yeah, I agree. And that's kind of what they did. Remember when Bud got first hired, it was Giannis and Middleton and him were out to breakfast, that whole storyline, just kind of like to get to know each other. But yeah, I mean, when you got a guy like Giannis in that, and the NBA, I feel like too, when you've got your superstar, you kind of have to cater to them a little bit more.
Because it's, I mean, a superstar, a top 2 or 3 player in the NBA is so much more impactful than any other sport.
And I feel like too, like where I would trust Giannis as opposed to, I don't want to say like a Kyrie Irving or something like that to get an opinion or, to involve him in the process. And kind of like what you said too, maybe Giannis doesn't want to be that main guy.
He'll give his opinion, but you don't want him to be like I said, you don't want him to be the deciding factor.
Right.
Like if he says, oh no, I like both of these candidates, then okay, then you make your decision and that your superstar is on board.
Right. Yep. And I mean, because wasn't it talked about too? Like he was a little bit down after the Jason Kidd fight. Like he was close to
because he was close to Kidd, and that's why some people were worried at the time. Like, oh, why are they firing Jason Kidd? Because
that's going to send him out of here.
Obviously that didn't happen. I think that above all else, Giannis wants to win.
Mm-hmm.
Wants to continue to be successful. And look, you even at the end of the series, Giannis making the comment about, he wanted to guard Jimmy Butler more, but he says, he deferred to the coach. Like, that's the coach's decision.
Mm-hmm.
But he said he would have liked to have, tried his hand at Jimmy Butler because nothing else they were trying was working.
Right. Is there anybody, I was trying to think of this earlier, like even on the college level.
Like I don't know. Like, I'm not sure if there's any, like.
The only person I could think of, and I don't even think he would make this move at this point, was Juwan Howard because he was a longtime NBA assistant.
Yeah.
And what that storyline would be if he became the Buck with the whole Wisconsin connection there. I don't think he would do that.
I don't think so.
I was trying to think of like a legit sort of connection there. Jay Wright ain't coming out of retirement to coach the Bucks or anything like that either. So I just, what Indiana's coach Mike Woodson was a longtime NBA coach. That ain't gonna happen.
No, I think you're gonna see them stay in the the NBA pool as maybe an assistant, or like I said, if you're you're dipping out for someone like Becky Hammond, but someone that does have significant NBA ties.
Right. Yeah, a ton of experience at the NBA level. So it's going to be a weird offseason, or like maybe not weird, but an interesting offseason for the Bucks, because you got that player option for Middleton. Brook is a free agent after coming off this big year. I threw out the question on Tuesday, Brandon, if you had to pick between one of the two, which one are you bringing back? Brook's older, but maybe healthier.
Yeah, this is tough because I think, and maybe part of this will change with coaching, but I think the thing in recent years when the Bucks have gotten burned, the issue for them is maybe there was too much rim protection, because you look at the teams that kind of, quote unquote, had their number, the Heat and the Celtics. Those teams aren't overly big. They've got some, big guys, but the Bucks certainly had the size advantage, but they were athletic and they were able to get by them, and we saw how much the Heat dusted the Bucks on defense in that series. And it wasn't. And look, Jimmy Butler obviously was awesome, but other guys were making plays. Like you look at
Bam's an all-star, but he's not a big like Brook Lopez.
But you watch them play, move the ball on offense versus the Bucks, and it looked like it was two different games being played. And I just think that I don't know, like, because I really like Brook Lopez, but I don't know, like it's a tough decision. I don't envy.
I'm just glad I'm not making it.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't envy whoever, has to make it when that time comes. But because, I think at some point you want to try to get, not that they're not athletic, but, more like 3s and 4s. And,
Does that
do you
mean,
try Giannis a little more at the 5?
Do you put Bobby Portis in a starting lineup?
You put,
sort of thing?
You go like, 4 or 5 of those two and try to get some athleticism coming off the bench. And how does this all work out? I mean, remember, at the trade deadline, we were talking about, the Jay Crowder trade, and by the end of the playoffs, Jay Crowder's, had commented he was kind of wondering like what his role in the team was, which was fair because he didn't really play.
Right.
Like it was just.
Somebody had also mentioned too, is like, is there something more going on? Maybe it was the Jay Crowder thing, because and again, I don't know any inside info, but I mean, John Horst sent over, was it 3 second-round picks? I mean, we were waiting for that trade to happen since the beginning of the season.
Yeah, that was one that everyone was kind of pointing to, like, oh, this is the move that should happen.
So the fact that he barely played in the postseason and didn't really contribute when he was out there, was there like some animosity maybe between GM and head coach, because like, why aren't you playing my guy that I acquired? Could that be part of it? Maybe. But I think ultimately, I mean, the final nail in the coffin had to be probably the first round exit. Otherwise, you're still playing right now.
Yeah, and not only the first round exit, but like a bad first round exit. Outside of the one game where they set a record for threes, like they were just beat. Like it wasn't like, oh, this team got lucky a time or two. No, Miami was the better team in that series and wasn't particularly close.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be. This is a big offseason for John Horst.
It is.
For Bucks general manager John Horst, not only for the coach. And I wonder how much, I think the other part in this too is like, how much say is he going to have in the head coach? Because you've got, I don't know who the governor is for the Bucks this year, if it's Haslam or Edens. I'm not sure who it is right now.
But hopefully he has a fair amount, because I mean, if you're the GM, you should.
Yeah, I would hope so. How much does Aaron Rodgers have a say, since he's got a little
I
bit of
know,
a share
he's a
in
big
there?
Knicks fan.
I know. That's he's been to more Knicks games, I think, in the last couple days, and probably Bucks games in the last 2 years, it seems like. So maybe he can buy it from Dolan over there at some point. I don't know.
And be an improvement.
It probably
even though the Knicks they're still alive. They've kind of pulled themselves off the mat after a long period of nothing.
Yeah. And then, you look at it like, I know some people are celebrating. I don't like celebrating when somebody loses a job, sort of thing. And I don't care how much money they make.
Yeah,
or
but it was,
whatever.
I feel like it was a move that had to be made. I will say that.
Yeah, I know. I would agree with that. And it's just, you look at the timing of everything too, with this playoff series, the more that's kind of coming out. Giannis was hurt. We found out Mike Budenholzer's brother died in a car accident during the series. You got to imagine that probably affected him a little bit on a personal level,
How can it not?
Right, exactly. And then people kind of saying that's an excuse and all. Stop it.
No.
Just stop it. But, just the timing of everything, it couldn't have come at a worse time. Giannis getting hurt and all that.
Yeah,
and then
it was just, and then you go up against a team that's just
red hot.
That that it clicks for, with a star that was able to take over games, which Jimmy Butler did repeatedly.
And it's like, the Heat weren't a typical 8 seed.
No.
Like I would argue. I mean, last year they were the 1 seed, and then you
Right.
kind of look at it. Well, the play-in.
Well, even
put 'em
before
in that.
when you asked me before, and you're like, well, who would you want to play? And I said, I don't want to play the Heat.
Yeah.
They're that's a team that just felt like was a bit of a sleeping giant because they had talent. They just they were injured and they just weren't quite clicking.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But they are now.
Yep. Definitely. So we'll see. We'll see how this whole process. But I mean, you've got other teams too that are going to be looking for a head coach, so they'll have something to compete against.
with. But I would imagine the Bucks have got to be the most attractive job out there.
Yeah, you'd think, but also whoever's coming in there, you're going to have that expectation. You better win.
Right.
No rebuild. It's win now.
Right. You come in, you're ready to go.
You've got Giannis, and then you've got to win right now. So, but it's kind of weird. Like I feel like the NBA is almost turning into the NHL a little bit here with these quick firings and maybe some retreads kind of going around here a little bit. But yeah, I'm trying to think like in the 90s, like we always talk about 90s hoops. Was it always kind of like that? But
maybe because I mean, how many teams did Lenny Wilkins coach for?
I remember him as Atlanta.
I do too, but he was. You look at his career; he was everywhere.
Yep.
There was a fair amount of retreads in the 90s.
You got like George Karl.
He bopped
Seattle,
to a few
Milwaukee,
different. Yeah, he
Pat
bopped
Riley,
to a few
Knicks,
different
Heat.
places. Mike Dunleavy.
Yeah. The one coach I don't want the Bucks to get, and he's already been listed out there since you just mentioned, was Mike D'Antoni. I don't want that.
No.
I don't want. I mean,
No.
you talk about a guy who I think is similar. Great regular season success.
Right.
Postseason, nothing.
Right. I would agree.
I'm good with no Mike D'Antoni.
Yeah.
Just no, thank you. No offense.
Yeah,
no
I'm not
thank you.
sure if there's any, quote unquote retread out there that would excite me more than maybe giving someone their first their first chance. And I see why you may be a little bit leery about giving someone their first chance as a head coach because you don't know.
Mark Jackson. There's got to be a reason why he hasn't been hired again, right?
Yeah,
Because I think I've heard just kind of how his personality is maybe with players and that, but it's been 9 years now, so it's like,
and that's a long time to be out.
So I don't know if that would. I don't know.
A Van Gundy?
No Steve Nash, please. I don't want that one either.
Pat Riley.
Yeah, he's got it good right now.
Yes,
in Miami.
he's got it very good.
He's got it really good. I was trying to think of who's that next just retired player that's going to wants to be a coach. Like the kid in the Nash route that the Bucks try to do with kid too.
You know who'd be a fun fit for Giannis? Tim Duncan.
Yeah. Is he an assistant?
I don't think so.
Or he was on the bench at one point.
Might have been.
Is he? Maybe he's not anymore.
I have no idea. I just was trying to think of recently retired star players. And Tim Duncan was.
I saw somebody throw out Sam Cassell. That would just make. I did not. Yeah, he was a Spurs assistant. Duncan was 19 and 20.
Oh, okay.
So, hey, Kareem wanted the job a while back.
He teach us the skyhook.
He could. How was Kareem's free throw percentage back in the day? I have to look that one up. I don't know off the top of my head. So, all right. Well, the rest of you got any nominations? You can send those puppies on over. We're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna talk some Brewers. We got a couple things to hit up. One, why can't the Brewers hit left-handed pitching? Two, what the heck happened yesterday in the last couple innings? And then we'll look ahead to the series against the Giants. Got a text, Frank Vogel. I'm not a big Frank Vogel, former Laker.
He is a member of that. Won a title recently, but doesn't have a job club now, along with Budenholzer and Nick Nurse.
What about Becky Hammond? We talked a lot about Becky Hammond.
Yeah,
so.
I would think would be a viable candidate. She was the last time. So
yeah, we talked a lot about her.
Yep.
So
yes, I would be surprised if she wasn't in that conversation.
All right, Brewers, Brandon. What the heck happened yesterday? Holy! I was thinking, okay, 4-0. That Wayne Miley's kind of cruising here a little bit. I wanted to ask you the Balk situation yesterday. That's a big topic of debate, I should say, on the Twitters and social media and such. Do you think that was a balk?
I didn't see much.
I didn't see it either.
I didn't see much, but
what can you do? I guess at this point.
And I mean, it was. I think I just chalk up that whole series to one of those. It's one of those times, and it happens in baseball where if it can go wrong, it does. Then it seems like over the years they've had some of those in Colorado, but one game you can score a bunch of runs, but you can't but you can't pitch. Then the next game you are able to pitch, but you don't score any runs. And then one game you get a lead, and it kind of gets a little wonky and it gets away.
Yeah. It was like even before that game yesterday. It was kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm overreacting, but I'm like, you're playing in Colorado and they couldn't put up runs.
Yeah, that's a little unnerving. It's one thing if you're losing in Colorado like 10-9, then you just kind of assume, okay, that's just how it is there.
Right. But they weren't able to do anything in the first two games. Then finally Yelly and Tellez,
and they got some early homers, and they scored some runs, but then they ran into some late game issues.
Luckily, the rest of the NL Central has also been stinking. So
right.
No ground has been made or lost. Essentially,
I don't like to play the card of at least blank. But I mean, the fact that St. Louis is 10-22 kind of helps a little bit.
And the Pirates had to play the Rays, so that didn't help them out either there too. So. Still kind of weird to say that. Hey, we had the May World Series with the Pirates and the Rays.
Yes, we did.
With those
yes,
two
we did.
At it, so, why can't this Brewers team hit left-handed pitching, Brandon?
It's a good question. I don't think it's. I mean, it's certainly not something limited to this year's team. I was thinking a little bit about this, and I think to me, a big domino in this is the lack of production from first base against lefties. And that's not specifically Rowdy Tellez, but just not having that secondary option there too, because that's something they've been looking for. I want to say since the Jesus Aguilar All-Star game of 2018, because 2019 he struggled, was dealt at the deadline. Eric Thames ended up getting at bats against lefties, which he held his own, but that's probably not what they're looking for. And then the last 3 years, they just haven't gotten much against lefties out of first base. Remember 2020, it was Justin Smoke. That experience did not work. 2021, they acquired Rowdy Tellez during the year, but still they didn't really have that.
Was that the Vogelbach year too?
Yeah, they just didn't have that that right-handed bat that could just mash lefties. And then last year they kind of miscast Keston Hiura in that role when Keston Hiura was a much better hitter against righties than lefties. And that's kind of what they're doing with Luke Voigt.
Yeah,
where those are guys that, even though they're right-handed pitching, they had reverse splits where they hit righties better than lefties, but they're still trying to put them out there to do it, and they just don't do it. The numbers over their career say they don't.
I'm sure you read the article from Adam McCulvey on Brewers where they talked a little bit about this, and a big theme on there was because you just mentioned it, the reverse splits are weird.
It is because normally for most players, if you're a left-handed batter, you hit righties better. If you're a right-handed batter, you hit lefties better. But that hasn't been the case with some of those guys they have, and I think that's something you have to address at some point because, bringing in William Contreras was a good move because he hits lefties, but you need more than that. And I know part of it was they think that, getting Tyrone Taylor back is going to help, and maybe it will, but you need more because it's bad. And it's not like there's anyone in the minors, I don't think, that you can go to and grab and give them that shot.
Right.
Because I think you need to go outside the organization and just try to find somebody. And it's not getting, look, it doesn't have to be a gigantic move, but just, kind of scouring the landscape, looking for a corner infielder that just hits lefties. And Mike Brasso is that kind of guy. He struggled a little bit against lefties this year, but his numbers over his career are much better against lefties. Someone of that ilk that can play first base. It doesn't have to be a superstar, just somebody that you can put out there that can play first base against lefties. And you know what? At some point it might be Mike Brasso, just because, he's kind of a bit adventurous when he's playing defense, at maybe third, but, especially once Luis Urias gets back,
Right.
that might bump him around. So maybe that's a guy that when that happens, you give him more of a shot at first base. But, so they need to do something because it's been an issue for a while.
Right. And I know Yelich had a theory when he was asked about it. And I don't know if you saw this, but he kind of mentioned, it's like platooning has become a bigger thing in baseball right now. And our pitchers, just kind of, more aware of that, more game planned up for that. So they've got more of a scouting report to it. They're better prepared to go up against those lineups with the platooning.
Could be.
Maybe. Yeah.
Could be.
But
yeah, if that is, the way they're going with certain spots, like.
Because that was a whole Moneyball thing, though, too, isn't it? Where it's like it doesn't matter. It didn't really lefty versus righty sort of thing.
The matchup doesn't matter as much if, kind of the numbers say the matchup doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know if does that factor into. I mean, at what point do you?
If you're a good hitter, you're like, and that's the thing.
Because you're not going to sit Mike Trout against a lefty righty sort of thing.
No, and that's it. Like if you're a good, Christian Yelich in 2018, 2019 wasn't, getting a day off against a lefty.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or, Ryan Braun at the peak of his powers wasn't getting a day off against, like a righty. Like they weren't playing matchups there. Like when you're at a certain level, you're not playing matchups with that player. But the issue is the Brewers don't really have anybody like that. I guess maybe Willie Adames, but he's really been scuffling. Like, there's nobody that you look at and say, well, that guy's just out there every day, no matter what. Even going back to Prince Fielder, Prince Fielder, you look at his numbers, he was much better against righties and lefties, but it's Prince Fielder. Like you still were going to put him out there against left-handed pitching, even tough lefties.
Right. Yeah.
And if you didn't put him out there every day, he'd probably get mad at you.
Exactly. Yeah. That guy played like all the time.
Yes, he did. I mean, that was a big point of pride for him. Like he never wanted to take a day off. And, that's just
and that's what sucks that his career ended because of an injury.
Yeah, and he was someone that had earned that right. But there's really not many people in this lineup offensively that are at that level right now of production where you say, hey, you know what, this may be a tough matchup for you, but we got to have you out there. Like there's just it's just kind of another year where there's just a bunch of interchangeable parts, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not.
Yeah. So because you mentioned you go back to last year, it was a theme too. I think they were 27 and 25 against starting left-handed pitchers.
It's been an issue for several years.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a little bit surprising. They still took 2 or 3 from the Angels when they started all lefties.
Right. And I think let me bring it up here because McCulvey actually mentioned that too. Let's see if I can. So here's some of the numbers. I know I brought them up the other day. Brewers are 5-4 this season in games started by opposing left-handers, but only one of those 9 starting pitchers, the Angels' Reed Detmers, left the game with his team in a deficit.
I was gonna say, I have to imagine the numbers aren't going to be great.
Yeah. So overall, Milwaukee, this was a couple days ago, but ranks last in the majors with a 607 OPS against left-handed pitching. The Brewers are also next to last with a 333 slugging percentage, better only than at that time it was the Yankees. So, yeesh, not good. All right, so the Brewers, they get Corbin Burns on the mound tonight for the Giants, Brandon. So Corbin's 3-1. He's looking for his 4th win of the season. But is it fair to say that still Corbin Burns really hasn't maybe pitched at a Corbin Burns level? And is it the big one that kind of stands out as the strikeout number so far for Corbin?
Yeah, I think there's still room for to improve. And it does seem like the last few starts he's kind of started to find that feel of that cutter a little bit more. But yeah, I think you can make the case that his best pitching is ahead of him this year. Which there were some rough waters earlier on, but it does seem like it feels a little bit better here more recently. So that's reason for optimism. And look, if you're looking to, end a losing streak, he's the guy you want out there right now.
Yeah, because 4 games in a row they've lost now?
Yep.
Go back to that last one against the Angels. So, All right, so they got him, and then it's Colin Ray, and then it sounds like maybe Adrian Hauser making his debut on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I know they've been kind of preparing him to be a bullpen guy, but with injuries here, you kind of have to throw him out there as a
Say,
spot
the
starter.
opportunity, the opportunity says, hey, you need him.
I know they had a really good month of April, but looking at this May schedule, I mean, this is what kind of makes it disappointing that you get swept by Colorado because now you got the Giants, okay, but then you return home against the Dodgers. I know the Dodgers have been a little down,
But they're
still,
playing better.
Yeah. Then you got St. Louis, who's down, but still, I always get nervous playing the Cardinals. I don't care,
Right.
record-wise. Then you follow that up with Tampa Bay, who's the best team in baseball right now. Then you return home against Houston. Then you got San Francisco, but then you got to go on the road against Toronto to end the month of. I mean, this is gonna be a tough month of May here.
Yep, I think you're gonna see what they got.
How come nobody can emulate what the Rays do? By the way, I know Matt Arnold's got some Rays pedigree to him, but this is unbelievable how the start of the season they're having. The run differentials,
just the brain trust that they have is they don't get brain drained when because normally when you're good for a while. Teams will pick at your front office or they'll pick at your coaching staff and you try to get that success there, but it's just continual.
They got an interesting month of May here too. I've got it up here really quickly here. So they begin a series now after sweeping the Pirates, first place Pirates. Got to get you guys say that.
Yep, for sure.
The struggling Yankees, but still the Yankees. Then they got Baltimore right after that. Baltimore's another solid season so far. And then you got the Yankees again, and then they've got the Mets. And then they've got the Brewers, and then they've got the Blue Jays, and then they got the Dodgers.
Woo!
So that's the Rays' upcoming schedule here. Month of May might tell us really about what the Rays are made of here. That's if you're a baseball fan, you got to be excited about that schedule. So, all right, Shot Clock's going to cut us off here. We're going to kick off the next hour. We'll do some local highlights here. We'll do the Carpet City Flooring Center local sports spotlight. We got a cream of the crop also coming up. Next hour, your thoughts. We'll get back to some more texts. Hit us up, 715-830-1912. Quick news updates, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes for the final hour of this program. All right, final hour on this Friday morning coming at you. Let's do should we do some spotlight. By the way, Brandon, tomorrow is 20 years.
It is.
Since that.
So
over.
today should have been the day that actually it wouldn't have worked out well for me. But,
I was gonna say we
but
should have been broadcasting from good old T-High.
hole 3
in Medford there. Yeah, that oh yeah. Right over there. The epic photo. Thanks, Matt Fry.
You look irritated.
Man. So
you look like so that would have been 2003.
2003.
You look like somebody told you Brett Favre would be leaving Green Bay in 5 years.
That's probably fairly accurate. So well done. Yeah, I like that.
Little did you know.
Little did I know. So
but yeah, wow.
20 years tomorrow. So
the ace.
The ace heard around TI, not even the world. I remember, I was trying to find it on the internet because I remember when it first happened, you can register it on the internet, like these websites. Those websites must be gone now because it's nowhere on there.
By the way, you got an ace, but you still couldn't.
Stop! Don't
German.
You know how many people have criticized me on this?
Courtesy of the great.
It's Jermaine.
Sorry, Dan Kasper hit a. This is courtesy of the great Matt Fry. Dan Kasper hit a hole-in-one Tuesday, and Nathan Germain had the top JV score in a mixed varsity and JV meet at Medford T-High Golf Course. You aced the 150-yard third hole, part of a round of 38, which is good for third among JV golfers. But you lost to a guy from Thorpe.
You want to just take that down and read the whole thing for everybody?
I'm good.
I don't know who the kid was from Thorpe.
I do.
Who was it? I don't remember.
I went to high school with Wesley Haas.
What's his name? Who is it?
Wesley Haas.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. Because I
beat
told you. Jeez. I told you what happened on the next hole.
I think you have, but I don't remember.
Because it was another par 3, and I doubled it.
You got double hole-in-one?
No, yeah. It was because the fourth hole, if you remember,
you got the sand.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, no, I went behind it, which is worse.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like the pine trees are tight, and there's a cart path, and
there's like some sand that kind of up front too.
Up front.
It's for a par 3, it's a tough hole,
and it's not like flat behind it. There's like a little hill, it's an elevated thing. At least it used to be. I don't know. It's been like forever since I've been there.
Well, I was there last year, and it's the same.
Same. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I went over it. So trying to get on there, and
you're trying to go back to back.
I was.
You were juiced.
I was gonna say I had a little testosterone.
I don't blame you.
There, but I called it for it, and I said I'm gonna screw up. I said it in other words, but I'm gonna screw this hole up, and I already had it in my mind that I was going to. So yeah, but you know how many people have given me crap about that score. You go hole one. That's what yeah, because I screwed up after that.
I'm sorry. You have if that happens, you can mess up every hole the rest of the day. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You got a hole-in-one, man.
I didn't see it. That's the other downer too. I didn't get to see it because it's elevated green, so you can't see it.
So you just went up and looked in the hole and it was there?
No, the group in front of us yelled hole-in-one because they were teeing off and they saw it.
I suppose, yeah.
So, yep, I didn't see it. I had sun was in the eyes too, so I had
and
sunglasses. So
2003. Tell me you did some sort of very 2003 timely dance after you got it.
I did not.
You broke out like "Get Low" by Lil Jon and the East Side Boys or something.
No. Yeah, man, making me feel good, Brandon. That should tell Matt Fry how old he is too. If that was 20 years ago,
tells us how old we all are.
That's a good point too. So, but nope, yeah, that was 20. I was
20 years ago tomorrow.
Tell you that 20 years ago. So, what was your greatest personal athletic achievement?
I ran over a catcher in a baseball game.
Oh, okay. That was really quick.
I don't have many to choose from. No, we were playing a baseball game in Neilsville, and I was on third base, and there was a throw. I think it was coming in from from second base was throwing home to try to get me at home.
Yeah.
The throw went up the line towards third base. The catcher caught it right in the middle of the line.
You plowed him over.
I just ran, and on purpose, I just lower the shoulder. The ball flew out, and I touched home plate.
Look at you. What a linebacker Brandon Berg was for the baseball team in Thorpe. That a boy.
Yeah.
That a boy. So I wish there was film of that.
Me too. I sure was filming your hole in one and your subsequent Little John dance.
You know,
I'm talking this into existence.
I should make when I'm back in Medford for the first time in like 8 years next Friday. I should stop at TI and see if that plaque is still, because they always used to have a plaque with all the hole in ones on there.
Yeah.
Do they?
I mean, there's a bunch of them in the clubhouse. I know. You should try to hunt yours down and like get your picture with it.
They should
with your thumbs up.
Since they took it down in high school.
Oh,
on the record boards.
Is there just too many? Are there just too many hole in ones now? Or?
No, I don't know.
They're like, get over it, move on.
I'm a little hurt by it, so
yeah, you need to go inside and check.
I should. I don't know if I'll have time on Friday, but we'll see. All right. Speaking of local stuff, Brandon, you've been pretty darn busy catching up on some stuff here. How has the golf scene been?
They're actually playing now, which is good.
Yeah.
Last week was kind of the first week, and kind of the thing about golf is, once you can go, you go, and that that means 3 or 4 tourneys a week.
Yeah.
Last week I covered a couple golf meets. Friday was a Bloomer for the Bloomer Boys Golf Invite. I think 25 teams there, something like that. That was won by McDowell Regis. Regis off to a good start in their Clover Belt title defense, but Bloomer's right there with them.
Mm-hmm.
Bloomer beat them at a Clover Belt meet at Cadott the day before, and they're kind of 1-2, kind of battling each other up top there. Bloomer was third at their home invite, so those are 2 teams that are going to be probably the top 2 contenders in the Clover Belt, and then in the Division II playoffs to possibly make runs. In the Big Rivers, it starts with Eau Claire Memorial, defending D1 champs. They are as advertised.
Yeah.
On Saturday, they won the Chahai Invite at Lake Wissota.
Okay.
Slightly cooler for Saturday's tourney than Friday's. That was a little bit different. Friday, I actually walked the back 9 backwards at Bloomer, just getting photos and stuff, because it was nice out, and it was still wet in some spots, so they were kind of spotty on where they wanted carts to be. So I'm like, it's not bad. I'll just walk it.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't doing that Saturday when it was like 40 and windy. So
we were playing t-ball that day, so yeah, that was fun.
Hopefully the wind was blowing out for you.
No, no, it wasn't.
But no, the obviously the Big River season's in full swing. Like I mentioned, Eau Claire Memorial, they're going to be a prime contender again to try to make that run and a repeat. But the Big River is well stocked on the boys golf front. Hudson, River Falls, New Richmond, always good.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the thing too, is like the golf season, we're like a week and a half away from conference meets already.
Man, really?
Yeah, that's just when you go 2-3 weeks of, it's going to be May. When you go 2-3 weeks of 3-4 meets a week, it adds up quick.
Mm-hmm.
I know some teams this weekend are up in Hayward. There's Hayward every year has a big 2-day tournament. I think between Hayward Golf Course, and also Big Fish up there, which is a great name for a course.
Makes sense for Hayward though too.
It does.
History,
it does.
So, yeah.
But a lot of teams are up there. Chai's up there. I think Bloomer's up there. There's a bunch of other ones from around here up there too. So that's always a good tournament, and in a bigger one too, because golf is one of those sports where you can just see if you're a good D3 team, you can go and compete in a D1 tournament. Like
that's what I was like. I think I mentioned, was it last week?
We were talking about certain sports that the enrollment doesn't really matter that much, and golf's one of them. There's no head-to-head physical element to it, where like football, you can't have a D1 team play D6 team. That's not going to be safe. But sport like golf doesn't matter.
Right.
And so that's kind of cool, where you can see tournaments where, example, at Chai last weekend, you had Memorial winning, but you had McDowell Regis tied for second. And actually, Andrew Bauer won the individual title. He shot, I think it was even par.
Man.
And those were not easy. Those were not easy conditions that day either. It was a blustery.
These high school scores, to kind of put it in perspective with some of this, for some people who may not realize this, like I saw, was the Badgers for their men's golf team finished third in the Big Ten, but they were like 13, 14 over par as a team score.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking high school kids with these scores, to put that in perspective.
Well, even I will sometimes do that for like an 18 hole. I'll look and see I know about what I golf. Let me see where I would compare to some of these kids. They're still more in front of me than behind me.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so
and I think
flipping impressive.
It's around here, and obviously there's they have plenty of options. Plenty of good courses around here. Plenty of places you can there's just if you want to golf, if that's what you want to do, you have many ways to kind of do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm on a slow start because one of my goals this summer was to go to a bunch of new different courses, and I've gone 0.
You need to keep me in the loop on that because
I want to do our little tour sort of thing.
I'm all in.
I want to do that this year, so I'm trying to come up with a list.
T-High. We need to golf there.
T.I. and Black River, we need to do the Medford 18.
The Medford, yeah. The Medford double, as my friends and I call it.
Yep. So,
9 and 9 with a lunch at Medford Cafe, sandwich in the middle.
I might just have to drive by the courses next Friday because it's been. I'm not kidding you. It's probably been 15 years since I've seen those courses. Honestly, the last time I can remember golfing T-High was the day the Packers drafted Rodgers.
Really?
Because I was so upset.
I think you told this story before.
Yeah, I was upset, and we went to T.I., and it was windy. We were the only ones on the course. It was really windy. And I wasn't a Rodgers guy. So that would have been 2005.
Wow.
That's the last time I can remember personally golfing T-High.
Wow.
So Black River, yeah, okay, it's probably longer than 15 years, so that'd be around that same time frame.
Up until a few years ago, it had been a long time, since I golfed either. But the thing I always remember about Black River is the second hole.
That would be the one with the river going through
Yes.
it, right? Yeah. Because I know a long time ago, it was different. I used to be the first hole.
Yeah, that was okay. I think that was before my time, though.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, that'd be before. But yeah, you either have to. It's a little strategery.
There is. The water is strategically placed to where it's about where it would be
river.
for a good drive.
Yeah.
So you kind of can't really just.
And then you got that incline up to the green.
It's a fun hole.
Yeah. Gosh, now I want to golf it.
I like hole 8 too because you're teeing off over woods.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I lost many golf balls there.
Yeah. Ditto. And it's a tight cut to the corner.
Yeah, it's a tight cut. There's woods. You're elevated, so
only one par 3 on the course.
Hole 9.
Yep. Last hole. Oh, and that's a straight shot.
Yeah.
Well, into the clubhouse. So, memories. Yeah, but I want to do the tour thing and just get a bunch of go to courses and ones I haven't been to.
Yes.
Do our own tour thing. So, okay, baseball, Brandon.
Baseball.
Where do you want to start? BRC, Cloverbell, Regis still doing their thing with.
They are. We can
Belt?
start there. Regis we're still unbeaten. So
yeah.
That's a team loaded with talent. They play McDonald tonight.
Mm-hmm.
McDonald. The first time they played it was a 3-1 game. So we'll see. But
I think they're coming off of didn't their pitcher toss a?
That's where I was yesterday. McDonald beat Stanley Boyd 7-2.
Oh, Regis tossed a perfect game yesterday too.
Well, there we go.
Yeah,
that's tough to.
Versus your Thorup.
I know, but that's that pitching staff is quite loaded.
Mm-hmm.
That's just that's a team that again they won the state title last year. A lot of those kids are back this year. A lot of great athletes on that team. Some kids that are going to play baseball in college, others that are going to play other sports, but they're all good.
Yeah.
So that's that's just a tough combo. And I know for Regis later on in the year, their schedule kind of opens up as far as some good non-conference competition too. I'm sure right before the playoffs, that's I'm sure that's the goal.
Right.
But yeah, that's a team that's going to enter the playoffs as a heavy favorite to repeat in Division 4.
Mm-hmm.
In the Big Rivers, you've got kind of a battle up top between Chi-High, River Falls, and Hudson. I think they're all either got 1 or 2 losses up there. They're kind of jockeying for position. Chippewa picked up a nice win last night in Menominee. Really good pitching outing for Jacob LeQuay. Went the distance and I think only allowed 1 run. Struck out I think 11. So that Chi-High team has got a really good pitching staff. Easton Bob at the top is a St. Thomas commit as a junior. A lefty that's touching upper 80s, kind of working on adding to his repertoire. But he's had starts this year where he's just absolutely been unhittable. He's just dominated. And you mentioned Jacob LeQuay. Jackson Google's given them some good innings. Jacob Danielson. They've got a pitching staff they feel really good about. For them, it's a matter of scoring runs, and that's something they've done better as the year's gone on.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to manufacture runs when they need to, but they also got some power on the team to hit the ball in the gap. So that's going to be interesting because they split with Hudson earlier on, and a couple weeks from now they play 2 with River Falls. So that's going to obviously be very influential in how the conference title race may ultimately end up.
Mm-hmm. Softball wise,
a big win last night for Fall Creek, beating Bloomer 4-2. Now Fall Creek still unbeaten. Leafs still ranked number 2 in the state in the softball coaches D4 state poll. And that's a team that's, I mean, I don't know if they've got the conference title clinched, but they're in a very good position to do it. You know, they're 2 games up on Bloomer with the sweep. I believe now they would be 2.5 games up on McDonald after a big win last night for Stanley Boyd over McDonald. Actually, coming under exciting circumstances with the Stanley Boyd center fielder Tina Benson actually making a catch at the wall, crashing over the wall, holding onto the ball. Snow fence at Casper Park. So
Still, that's
a bit of a robbery there, and that was on a ball that would have been a 2-run home run. So to go from a potential 5-4 win for McDonald to a 4-3 win for Stanley Boyd is, I mean, that's as close as you're going to get to like a defensive walk-off play.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. So, wow. And then track and field.
Oh, track and field is going, but and that's another one where we're like a week and a half away from conference meets, but. A big night last night.
Did I see some school records were broken?
Yeah. I laughed because my Twitter account was totally blowing up because the Shanghai track team tagged me, and they had 3 different school records that were broken last night. They broke the girls pole vault record. Natalie Schuler set the new school record there. Kansas Smith broke the boys triple jump record, and the girls 400 relay team of Taylor Mosher, Maddie Hunt, Olivia Sedlacek, and Brooklyn Sandvig set a school record there as well. So it was down in lacrosse at the Willard Hanson relays.
Okay.
The boys won the team title. The girls finished second. So, they as you can tell there, and just in general from those results, like this could be a good postseason for Shanghai track and field. Once you get to the postseason, obviously everything kind of ratchets up a little bit, but a lot of things to like there.
Whoever invented the triple jump?
I don't know, and that's something I've always wondered because that was the one event that took me a while to figure out. Like the long jump, okay, the high jump, the pole vault, even that, all of these different sports, but like the triple jump, like who was like, okay, here's the thing, we want to see how athletic you are. Not just with one jump. We want you to take a couple bounds and then jump. Like they're trying to just test like your agility, like when you're off balance. It's
according to Wikipedia,
which is always right.
Right. Historical sources on the ancient Olympic Games occasionally mention jumps of 15 meters or more. This led sports historians to conclude that these must have been a series of jumps, thus providing the basis for the triple jump. However, there is no evidence for the triple jump being included in the ancient Olympic Games, and the recorded extraordinary distances may be due to the artistic license of the authors of victory poems rather than attempts to report accurate results. The triple jump was part of the inaugural modern Olympics in 1896, although at the time it consisted of 2 hops on the same foot and then a jump. In fact, the modern Olympic champion, James Connolly, was a triple jumper. So, okay. The Irish mythology, the Galruth, was an event contested in the ancient Irish Tailteann Games as early as 1829 BC. So somebody thought of it.
Somebody did.
Yeah. Let's give that person their righteous due and give them a nice little tip of the cap for coming up with that, because it's apparently lasted the test of time. But yeah, I hated doing that thing in gym class, or the middle school track and field day, and you had to sit there and try to do triple. I could never get it. I could never do it, and then I felt bad, like when I would make a jump of like 6 inches, because it's like hop, skip, jump, or something like that. So
I mean, left, right, left, whatever you're. It's one. Yeah, you go one side, other side, back to the first side.
Yeah, I can't do that. I couldn't.
A lot of balance, coordination, and agility into doing it well.
Yep. All right, B, before we take the break, you got the local spotlights, Carpet City, Florence.
I mean, I was very tempted to go with what I mentioned about the Chai track team, but it's tough to because there's like 7 people there. Like that's or
athletes.
6. Yeah, that's tough because you give it to. So instead, I'm going to go with another team I mentioned, which is the Fall Creek softball team.
Okay,
still unbeaten. In the driver's seat for the for the Western Cloverville Conference title. in a very good spot there. Coach Brad Saransky does a great job there, just as he did at Thorpe previously. So I think this is a good time to spotlight them.
All right, I like it. So we'll take a quick break here, then cream of the crop.
Yeah,
a little cream of the crop here. We have to change it to a cup of coffee almost there too.
Apparently that's
Cup
the thing.
of
You were
big
explaining
time.
that to me off air. That's the thing apparently.
Something that's like trending right now. More macho man, the better, right? At least in your opinion, right? More macho, yeah.
More the better.
All right.
then the other one is I think the North, because the Vikings with the Bengals.
Bottom of the hour here, as we were trying to figure out, we couldn't remember who the NFC North opponents were.
Yeah,
What
we were
division?
playing a fun game off air of guess which game the Packers get week 1, and we were both kind of on the same path, but a little different.
Mm-hmm. I went with they get the first Monday night game, that early one, and it'll be a home game.
Well,
against
last year they only
Chicago.
did the one Monday night game.
Did they?
I think they did. They didn't do like the East-West one.
See, I can't remember anymore.
Because week 2 they did the doubleheader. Because that's when
right.
Minnesota, because there was Tennessee, Buffalo, and Minnesota, Philly.
That's right. I don't know if they'll do that again this year.
I don't know. But yeah, your guess was.
I'll stick Monday night Bears.
Yep.
Jordan Love era.
Mine was Monday night Packers Lions.
Okay. Sunday night will be Jets.
Yeah, because
Sunday night will be the Jets against somebody.
Somewhat significant.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that being like Jets Giants.
Do they play the Giants?
They
do.
do.
They do. That's right. Or Aaron versus McCarthy again. Jets Cowboys for Sunday night. That one would be
interesting.
That's Cowboys, because and then it's Jets.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy. Yeah, because they will it would not surprise me at all if they piggyback. Sunday night it's Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, then Monday night's Packers, and
I can see that.
Yeah. All right.
Because
it's supposed to be next week.
Yeah, that's why I was brought up. But yeah, then obviously Chiefs. I mean, there's a couple good options for the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly the Bengals or the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Those are both on the schedule. So
is the Eagles at home or is that on the road?
I think it's at home.
Okay.
I think both of those are at home.
Okay. Because the Chiefs play the Jets too, but that's on the road.
Yeah.
That's in New York.
And they're gonna. I mean,
it's gonna be a home game.
Yes.
Unlike the year that remember Baltimore had to open up on the road in Denver.
Mm-hmm. And then Peyton Manning smoked them, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah. What was there? Because there was a baseball. Was it?
There was a conflict. There was like a baseball conflict.
Was it the playoffs or something for Baltimore? Were they in the postseason?
No, because
September.
It was September. There was just some conflict there.
Yeah. Okay. Ready? Cream of the crop time. Let's do it. Do you think you were mentioning this a little bit off the air too? Macho Man Randy Savage kind of getting more love now. It seems like.
I think so. So. Just for the.
And I don't know why the coffee one's trending now.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that until you shared that with me.
Yeah, the cup of coffee, the big time one. So, anyways, your cream of the crop.
Actually, mine this week kind of deals with a little wrestling. So people are maybe familiar with the name Tony Khan. The Khan family owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. They own Fulham Football Club over in England. Tony Khan, they also own and run All Elite Wrestling, which is the second biggest wrestling company in the country.
You and Justice have gone to a couple.
We have one.
Okay.
But yes. And anyway, a few weeks ago they announced that they are doing their first show in England, and they are running Wembley Stadium, which, as you don't know, Wembley Stadium seats about 90,000 people. It is a massive stadium, and there was kind of some question about, well, how many people are they actually going to get in there for that? As of I believe it was yesterday, tickets officially go on sale today, but they had a couple days of pre-orders. As of yesterday, they had sold more than 50,000 tickets already.
Wow.
Which would be, they're trending on being, I mean, that would be one of the biggest, especially for like a non-WWE. I mean, WWE at this point kind of, they're their own thing. Like, you're not going to get, it's one of those things where you're not going to get to that level, but you can still be pretty good. And that's kind of probably where they are right now, where it's trending and being possibly one of the biggest, attendance-wise, wrestling events in history, especially when you take it out of, when you're taking it out of that WWE sphere. So that's busting a lot of expectations of what people had, because admittedly, when you say, hey, we want to put something, we want to put this, our product in a 90,000 seat stadium, that's a bit ambitious, especially when the company itself is only 4 years old.
Right.
But I mean, that's to me, that's really impressive. So I'm going to go Tony Khan.
All right. I know they just lost, but I got to give it to my Kraken for winning a playoff series, getting game 1 against Dallas, even though former Plover, Wisconsin native Joe Pavelski put up 4 goals in game 1. I got to give a little bit more love to my Seattle Kraken.
These NHL playoffs have been fun.
I feel like, and I know I've kind of said this before, but I feel like, when it comes to Stanley Cup playoffs, if you haven't It's one of those, like, maybe a lot of people don't watch hockey in the regular season, but as soon as the playoffs start, it's like appointment viewing. Like, I know one of my college roommates and one of my good friends was that way. Didn't watch a whole lot in regular, but as soon as Stanley Cup playoffs run, he was on that couch all the time watching it and hooting and holler.
Oh, it's different.
It is different.
Yeah, these have been really good playoffs. I mean, the Bruins living up to the President's Cup curse, which, as you don't know, the President's Cup is a trophy that goes every year to the high-scoring team in the regular season that puts together the most total points. But there's
I'm
a
gonna get
curse.
to that in a second here with you. But.
There's a curse where for many years the team that has done that has not won the Stanley Cup, and that continued again this year when the Florida Panthers knocked them off, and now Panthers are up 2-0 on the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the Maple Leafs were almost my pick for cream of the crop because they snapped a 20-year or 19, whatever it is, skid of not getting out of the first round. But then they lost the first two to Florida, so I couldn't in good conscience do that.
So I threw this out kind of for fun on Monday, but didn't really get into it too much. But Boston, okay. Another example of a team that, best record regular season, nothing in the postseason. When we look at those other teams in other sports, Golden State 73-9 lost in the finals to LeBron and Cleveland. Patriots 17-0 lost in the Super Bowl to the Giants. The Mariners, the 2001 Mariners, they lost in the ALCS,
and they won like 110.
16,
yeah, 100. Yeah, they won. Yeah,
they won a playoffs, but they lost in the.
No, they lost.
Yeah, they lost in the
DS.
Was it the DS or the American Championship Series?
I don't remember.
Let me just look it up.
Yeah, you might want to look that up just to be sure.
But then you had, like, if you want to go way back, the 1906 Cubs also had 116 wins, but they lost the AL Championship Series to New York. The Mariners.
Okay, so they did get out of the DS, but
you could say the Bucks this year.
Yeah.
Packers 15-1 season and all that. But of all those teams I just listed, though, too, would you say Boston's the most disappointing because they didn't even win one playoff series?
Could be, yeah. Now, in some of those cases, like the Packers won, they didn't technically win a playoff game, but they got a bye.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, Boston, that was historic. Like they had the best regular season record ever.
Right. Yeah.
But you're right. Like they didn't even get out of the first round, or they didn't win a series because you mentioned the Patriots still got to the Super Bowl, and some of these other
Mariners
teams, Mariners,
series.
The Warriors.
Yep.
So yeah, probably just
Warriors almost lost that series to Thunder too. Remember, weren't they down 3-1? I think
something like
in that
yeah.
series. Yeah. Really
it's gonna be crazy in like 20 years when like people have to try to explain how that Thunder team that had Durant and Westbrook and Harden and Serge Ibaka, how they didn't win a title.
I asked my question.
Just wrong place, wrong time.
I ask myself that every day. Why the 95 Orlando Magic, 96 Orlando Magic didn't do it either. 94, huh?
I think we know why.
We don't need to bring his name up.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Okay.
I know what direction you were going, but I'm gonna stick with Hakeem.
Okay, that's a good one too. So, I mentioned this the other day. Just because you brought up the Dream, Kevin Hart was doing this might be kind of old, but I just saw it the other day. Impression of Shaq, Ernie, Kenny, and Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
It was fantastic when he was doing Kenny Smith's impression because all he was talking about was North Carolina and playing basketball with the Dream. Which is like, if you watch it, it's accurate. Yeah, it's accurate. So, I feel bad for Kenny at times because like just feels like he's the odd third wheel.
I mean, he brings a lot. Like I was just gonna ask, like that's got to be like the best, pre-post game like studio ensemble
studio
sports,
show,
right?
yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Because to me it's the perfect combo of like they know what they're talking about, but they're still very entertaining and they don't take it too serious. I mean, you just see the banter between Shaq and Barkley and just how can you not be entertained?
Right. Yeah, to me, if we were to rank them, this might be a topic for a Man Cave top 5 studio shows.
Yeah.
Sports studio shows. If we don't put Dan Patrick on there, they might get upset because they never win the Emmy for that. They didn't even get nominated this year for it. So, but I think that might be a topic. And honestly, that probably I would tell you right now.
That would be my number one.
It'd probably be number one too.
Yeah,
so
I mean, Ernie Johnson's just
he's a perfect ringleader for that. Yeah.
Yeah. You think of him as the point guard because he's just kind of
and he will give you a little bit of a
he'll give you some grief.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll dish it out.
Oh yeah. Yep. Luke and I were actually talking about Round Ball Rock the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we both agreed that sports, and I know we were going to do this one eventually, sports themes too. But
that'd be number one.
Mm-hmm. No, you think number one too?
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think. I was bringing back old PS1 games, NBA and Showtime. You ever play that game?
I don't think I did.
It was their version, I think, of
NBA Jam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it was like 2 players. You could like foul them all the time. and
Yeah.
all that
It
stuff,
was all
so.
about the dunks.
Yep. Yeah. So, okay. So those are our cream of the crops. Before we take our final break here, Mr. B, how would you think overall of the draft? Sounds like we might get an announcement soon on 2025, and you know who the betting odds favorite is.
Well, what are the next?
So next year's in Detroit.
Okay, I had to think because I'm like, well, what's the next 2? But I'm like, wait, it's 2023, not 2022.
Yeah. So Detroit is next year. They don't have 2025 announced yet. Do you know what the Vegas odds are?
Alaska.
Yes.
Yes.
Close. You gonna guess?
Duluth.
Close.
Am I getting warmer?
Yes.
Green Bay.
Yeah. 2025 odds-on favorite, Green Bay.
As we've said, if that happens, then
yeah, we're going.
It's on.
You know,
it's on
the whole week, not just a day. The whole.
Oh no, I would be.
week.
Yeah, that would be like. Yeah, I would be. Yes, just we're in. I want to be doing shows from the porch of an Airbnb Thursday morning as people are starting to walk to the draft, and we're just out on the porch chilling and talking and.
Oh yeah. So what'd you think overall of the? You know, because you made a fun comment. You texted me or made a comment to me, I think, over the weekend that you were working all day Saturday.
I was because I'd worked. I was very busy on Friday and then Saturday morning covering a bunch of different stuffs. But in between covering all those things, I did not miss a Vikings pick, which I'm not sure was a good thing because they didn't have very many, so I didn't have very many to miss. But no, overall I liked it. I mean, as far as the Vikings go, I would probably give it a solid B. I mean, we talked last week. I like the Jordan Addison pick. You know, they threw some picks trying to address the secondary and different spots on the line. Never a bad thing to take a late round running back just because, you know, but that's a spot.
And I liked your pick there. I kind of wish he would have
McBride.
Yeah. But you can kind of sense like even like a couple weeks leading up to it, Minnesota really liked him. They're bringing him in on visits and that. So,
yeah. I mean, running back is one of those spots where, if you're drafted, it doesn't necessarily matter where, because you can make an impact as a 7th round running back. I mean, the odds of outside of Brock Purdy, especially a 7th round quarterback making an impact, are pretty small.
Yeah.
So overall, I'm happy with it. Now
So I'm reading a little bit here. So it's expected that they're going to announce where the 2025 draft is going to be held at their next owners meetings, which is on May 22nd or begins on May 22nd. Do you know where those owners meetings are by chance? Oh, the irony of this. It's in Minnesota. It's in Minnesota.
That would be pretty funny,
right?
I'm pulling for it. I want that to happen.
I'll even if it's in Minnesota. I know they haven't been talking about that, but if it is, I'd go to Minnesota too.
Yeah, if it's either Green Bay or Minnesota, we're going.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess technically Minnesota's a little bit closer, but I mean, obviously, I'm sure you would prefer Green Bay just for funsies. But
they had the Super Bowl. Give us the draft. We ain't getting the Super Bowl, so
Fair.
I hope the Super Bowl goes back to Minnesota. But
I do too. But that would require a lot of
media.
talking heads, to not be complaining about it's cold.
Yep, exactly. So, but that wouldn't that be the irony of
that? Would be kind of funny.
It would be.
I would laugh. But either one of those 2 places for 2025, and I am A-okay.
Yep. So yeah, it's gonna be because the NFL never takes a day off, Brandon.
Never.
So next
Thursday days off.
So
quote my Bill Belichick.
Next Thursday is supposed to be the schedule announcement, which means leaks all over.
Yeah, but by next Wednesday we'll know about half of it because we'll get boop 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 different spots on the schedule.
And then if they do it around the 22nd for the draft, all right. So a big couple days coming up in the next couple weeks here. Which one are you looking more forward to?
Well, now that I know there's a pretty decent chance that the draft will be coming.
Think we'll still be doing what we're doing though in 2025?
Ooh, good question. Does that mean otherwise you can just go show up and do whatever you want and not have to worry about radio?
That too. Yep. Exactly. Might have to call in some favors over there in Green Bay and see if we can get some access or do some special stuff there, if you know what I mean. Might have to get ready to reserve that house again like I did a few years ago, and I'm really glad they declined my reservation
Right.
because that did not work out. I think I texted you shortly after I got
You
that
did,
thing,
because because we were like, oh, it's there. So you were on the
I
ball.
reserved a house right away.
You were on the ball.
Yeah, and thank God the guy came back and said, sorry, I don't reserve it that far out. And, dodged a bullet there.
Yes.
Oh. But I got to, that price is probably going to be up fairly high. If anybody's smart with their houses on Lombardi Avenue, they'll increase the price.
I would think if you have a house there, you would already.
Yeah. So, I mean, we might have to, I'm saying this, like, I want, maybe by this time, we can actually figure this out. I want an RV.
Ooh.
For the shit, like a mobile
the mobile man cave.
Yes. Thank you. That's what I called it.
The mobile man cave.
Thank you. Yep. We're thinking same thing.
I'll have 2 hams and be sleeping up on top of it on a futon.
I want the mobile man cave, whether it's an ambulance or an RV. That's the dream, man. That is the dream. And we'll roll it up, and you know what? We'll park it somewhere and just do what we got to do.
You can be parked at a Walmart.
Well, maybe at the Cabela's at the end of
Lombardi
over there or something like that. But that's the dream. Hopefully in 2 years. Well, we got less than 2 years now.
Yeah.
We got to figure that thing out. Get that going. Whether, prefer the RV, but we'll make do with whatever we got to do.
I want to be doing a radio show from the top of an RV.
Wouldn't that be sweet? I mean, we can.
How many
can
people
we customize it?
How many people will be walking by? What are you doing?
Doing a radio show, bro. Come on.
That sounds.
How can we get that app to happen? We're gonna need a lot of sponsors.
Yes, we are.
A lot of sponsors for that. Because I've already got it planned out how I would like pimp it out. It's pimp my RV mobile man cave thing.
That doesn't exactly flow off the tongue.
No, it doesn't. I already got the hitch grill. Put that in. We're tailgating there. We got to have some sirens on that thing. So if it's I want a light show on there. Draw the attention. The bat signal. But we have like our own custom spotlight with one of our logos on there. And we shoot it up in the sky so people know to come over.
The pick is in.
The pick is in. Yes, exactly. Now we're getting my hopes up for nothing. How do we get this to happen?
Better I need a friend to move back to Green Bay in the next 2 years.
I do have a friend that lives there, but I ain't staying with him. I ain't staying with Newman. Sorry, Newman, if you're listening. I ain't staying with Newman.
Hello, Newman.
I think he's got a small apartment with a roommate. I don't think there's enough room. So, no. But maybe Newman can get the hookup for us somewhere. All right. Well, Hy-Vee's got a plaza over there now, too. So maybe they'll let us camp. Hitch up some tents in Titletown District over there. All right. We got to take our final break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right, just a few minutes to the top, and then we're done here. What's got you fired up for the weekend, Brandon? Kentucky Derby?
Yeah.
Fired up for that?
Hopefully good weather coming up here.
Yep.
Maybe get out some more golfing if you haven't got a chance to go out already.
I have not gone out yet.
I went once.
One more than me.
Well, we said we got to remedy that.
I know. I got to be like forced to go out. Like I can't come up with excuses this time. So got to go out there and do it. So, but I'm gonna be picky on who I go with too. You're on my short
Oh, I was
list.
gonna say something. Never mind. I'm like, I can take a hint.
What do you mentioned already? You're covering some baseball tonight, right? Regis and McDonald.
No, that game is tonight. I'm actually gonna be in Stanley for a
Okay.
this big track meet there with a bunch of area teams. So
Gotcha. Okay. So we got that on the dock. Anything in this weekend you're covering up? Or?
Tomorrow morning I will be covering some girls soccer. McDonald Regis takes on Eau Claire North.
Okay.
Tomorrow, I believe, at Simpson Field in Eau Claire. So they got a tournament going on with some games going on. And I'll be checking that out tomorrow morning and enjoying this weather.
All right. So good stuff there. We got Brewers. What's your prediction? It's a prediction Friday. Are they going to bounce back and take 2 out of 3 against these Giants?
I'm gonna say 2 or 3, but I don't feel good about it.
Yeah. I think they'll win tonight with Burns on the mound. Then I don't know.
Yeah.
Assuming, we know it's Ray in the second one, then assuming it's Hauser in the
Yes. I don't know. I'm not super confident right now, but hopefully I'm wrong.
And the thing, we knew at some point they were going to go through.
Oh yeah,
stretch,
and that's
right?
it. Like this isn't a whole, woe is the team, they're terrible, they're trash. I mean, these things just happen. It's just, I think Brewers fans are just probably a little frustrated that their struggles in recent, over the last week plus have come against the Rockies and the Tigers, 2 teams that probably aren't very good.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. And then it's not going to get any easier coming up here too. So, I was kind of looking at MLB.com's they got like a starting pitching power rankings list on here. And Corbin Burns is not in the top 10. In fact, he didn't even get any votes. One Brewer pitcher did get some votes, though. Wade Miley. How about that?
Yeah.
Wade Miley getting some votes. And maybe a little bit of a resurrection of his career, Brandon, would you say? Sonny Gray.
Yeah, he's had himself a good go of it with the Twins so far this year.
He's number 3 on this list. He's down to an MLB leading .77 ERA through 6 starts, going 4-0 with 41 Ks. Feel like for as much as we talked about that guy, he should have played for the Brewers at some point because it always felt like he was attached to a Brewers rumor. Or who's the pitch? Was it Johnson, the pitching coach?
Yeah, there was the Vanderbilt connection. So yeah,
for as much as we talked about him, it felt like he was supposed to or should have played for the Brewers at some point. But he's having a good season so far, and big reason why the Twins are having good success with their pitchers this year.
Yeah, he's always been a talented pitcher. It's just that sometimes sometimes it just doesn't work for guys at certain locations.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Ohtani's going to be traded by the deadline?
No, but I don't think he's going to be an Angel next year.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
Is
like
he getting better every year, it seems like.
Seems like it. I mean, that home run he hitting it in Milwaukee on Sunday, I mean, that thing scraped some birds.
Yeah. This kid, but I mean, the other day, 13 strikeouts, and then he has 3 hits. He joined Babe Ruth, and just him and Babe Ruth in categories now. And it's just, the thing is and we only got a minute here. The one thing I really hope that maybe kind of changes with Ohtani being like the star of Major League, we see more of this.
Yeah.
More players like this, because for a lot, I mean, you cover it, but like, it seems like, the good pitchers in high school are probably the best hitters too.
Yeah. You're a lot of times they're because they're really good athletes.
Right. And I'd like to see, more players being able to do both.
Yeah.
Instead of just focusing on one.
Correct.
I don't know if that'll happen.
Yeah.
But
I hope so. I mean, you've got to be able to, kind of maintain it throughout the minors.
And I think it does help now, though, too, the universal DH.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when Ohtani was coming through, I think we all assumed he was going to go to an AL team because of the DH.
Yes.
Probably, right? And,
yeah.
Well, now that doesn't matter.
Now that's not an issue.
So, all right. Shot clock's going to cut us off here, Berg. I know you got to get going here, too. So, thanks for the text, John. Great show this morning, crew. So,
thank you, John.
2 thumbs up. Plus 2 from Brandon.
That's 4 thumbs.
4 thumbs. DP and Dan are up next. Have a good weekend. We'll be back Monday morning at 6 a.m. Talk to you then.